Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
Urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
it's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Membership fees apply after free trial. Cancel anytime.
Can I be real for a second? That goal you have to exercise and eat better, you really can do it. But nobody is going to do it for you. And nobody has to, because you can do it if you have the right tools and a community that cares about helping you get results. And that's us, Beachbody. It's as convenient as your TV or laptop, but you need to decide that you're worth it. Let us help you succeed. Here's how. Go to beachbody.com to claim your free membership and start feeling great.
Welcome to One Nation Radio. And now, here are your hosts, Rich Latta and James Boyd. And thank you for listening.
One Nation Sports.
Welcome to One Nation Radio. And now, here are your hosts, Rich Latta and James Boyd. And thank you for listening.
One Nation Sports.
Yo, what's good? It's Wale, and this is One Nation Radio. You already know.
He now rocking with One Nation Radio. Welcome to the program. James Boyd, Richard Latta, and a couple friends with the show for your wrestling needs. Shopping out the rest of the IWC. We gon' tell her how it is. We gon' shoot from the hip. If they putting out trash, we gon' rip from the bits. Make sure that you tweet us and you rate the shows. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Now let's get it on the road. Hey.
One Nation Sports. One Nation Sports. One Nation Sports.
Welcome to One Nation Radio. And now, here are your hosts, Rich Latta and James Boyd. And thank you for listening.
SocialSuplex.com. BWB, what's up?
Yo, what's good? It's Wale, and this is One Nation Radio. You already know.
This is Jordan Grace, and you're listening to the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
BWB, this is One Nation Radio. You better get it right. Rich Latta, James Boyd came to give them life. The Blackest Wrestling Podcast has come to kick all ass and drop it 6 feet if they kicking trash. Word, let me welcome y'all to something different. And if you dig it, man, you should let some friends listen. We be getting it in, this on the regular dude. Ravish and flow, but this shit rude. See, James don't rap, so I had to break it down. The whole network, man, we coming for the crown. Raps in the columns, I keep them both covered. Making the beats too, so the listeners can bump it. Hit us with the rating, yeah, I'm saying it's a 5. Before you hit it, talk, bob your head side to side. It's One Nation Radio, and this is the beginning. It's Rich, and I'm here with James. It's time to listen to One Nation.
We got to unleash the power of the pyramid.
This is Mike Sempervive from WrestlingObserver.com. Check me out on Wrestling Observer Live every day. And also check out your boys, Rich and James, on One Nation Radio.
This is Kenny Omega. We're listening to One Nation Radio. Check it out, guys. These guys know what's up. Big Kenny Omega fans. That's all that counts to me. Goodbye and good night. Bang.
Hey, folks. Welcome to One Nation Radio. The special 10th... I've already botched it. We're going to keep going. It's fine. We're going to keep going. 10-year anniversary of One Nation Radio. Yeah, man. Long time coming. Like in ways it feels like it's been a minute. In other ways it feels like it's been like a blink of an eye. We have gotten older. When we first started this show, I had hair below my shoulders, and now I am a bald man. I am one of the members now. You have still remained, you and your Jalen Rose ass shit. I don't know what's going on. Good for you. Congratulations.
Strong.
I look, can't hate on you, but as far as my lot in life, I'm bitter, but it is what it is. We will move on. But yeah, man, like, what are your thoughts on 10 years of this?
Man, 10 years of One Nation Radio. It is something I look forward to doing every week still. And just like I always had an attitude when we started doing this show, I was like, I wanted to be something that I didn't think was out there. I wanted to talk about wrestling in a passionate but entertaining way that was kind of forward thinking. And I wanted to do it from a Black perspective. There's a lot of people that have got in, since then, kind of, making that their thing, and that's cool. And I don't think we necessarily like stand on that island as hard, as much anymore. But at the end of the day, we all know what it is. Like, we don't run from all the current event stuff. Like, I always have felt very passionate about talking about stuff other than wrestling. And there's no one else I could have done this show with besides James. I have hosted solo shows on my own. It's not nearly as fun doing it by yourself, just because you talking to yourself is pretty hard. But I think it's a challenge to do so. So James has had times where he's done solo shows. I've done solo shows, and it's a challenge, but it's much more fun like doing it with like my best friend here. And it was like a time where a lot was changing in our lives. Like, we were kind of transitioning out of doing the music thing collectively, I would say, when we were getting started in One Nation Radio. And it was like, man, like One Nation Radio, it was a way to kind of keep James and I connected at first. It felt like it was like, because you never know which way people's lives can go. And it was, from there, ended up linking with Social Suplex a couple years later. But we went the long way on this, like, and we're still going the long way, because it's like we're not, on a huge platform. We're on like, it's some DIY from the muck shit. Like, we're doing it like ourselves, like as far as like, marketing the podcast, promoting the podcast, cutting up the clips, and doing this with like, with Jeremy and Josh, like kind of spearheading it, like, these are going to be like how, like we're our own bosses here. Like, we're not, under a Fightful, we're not under F4W or anything like that. So it's like us against the world in a sense. And I kind of find a great challenge in it. And, there's a lot of freedom that comes with it, but we have to be responsible with that freedom. As much as I, will come on the air and do the kind of conspiracy theories and like some of the trolling stuff, but like I'm always coming from like a good place with it. It's not to be reckless on air. And there's like a lot of, I feel proud that we've pretty much run a very clean show as far as like, we don't have to go back and edit out stuff that we've gone too far on. We've always been respectful to women on this show. We haven't like, we've allowed people to come into the show with unique perspectives that, I've really enjoyed having on, like all our guests, like Tanya, like Floyd, Jeremy, Josh, Simon, Sam, Chad, Dave Finichel, Sierra, of course. And I just like, I love like linking with people that kind of like had the similar mindsets as us that wanted to approach this thing and just make it better for listeners, for people that, want to have another way to look at, wrestling and in life, really. And I've always, maintained like, I'm a music artist and everything like that, but I feel like I'm just as much as like a podcaster at this point. And it's hard being both, because it's like, man, I'm always like, thinking like the music stuff never stops. But this is always coming back around once a week as well. But I'm very happy to do this show. Very happy to have like the rich audio library that we have. Like, I think, I feel like you can stand our show up with anybody's at this point and find entertainment, find great analysis, find just unique shit that I don't think anybody else will have. So I love the fact that, we've been doing this for 10 years and it's literally 10 years to the day. I remember 12th, 2012. What about you, man?
I've never really thought about it outside of the occasional times to be like, yeah, you're coming up on a 5th anniversary or a 6th anniversary, 7th anniversary. And then, about a month ago, you're like, we're coming up on our 10. And I was like, yeah, it is our 10. Holy shit. Like 10 years have gone by. We've been doing this that long. And like, when it first started out, it was, we love pro wrestling. We love sports. How do we, we would always have these conversations, basically like me and you would talk almost every single day. And just, basically just riff on whatever was going on, like almost like a PTI style, type of thing. And I remember one time I actually like, we did a PTI style type of thing where it was like, all right, put the timer up 3-4 minutes or whatever else, and let's go from topic to topic or whatever else. And that was a fun show, but like that was just, experimenting or whatever else. But it was just that. It was just like, because we always have just the chemistry to be able to, blabber on for forever about anything. And I feel like, some of the stuff we talk about, like, we're both, I don't really do the whole talk about yourself as being smart or whatever else, but like, it's just conversations that's like, I guess, more thoughtful, for lack of a better word, right? At times, and other times could be, funny, or other times could be like, let's rip something up because it was fucking awful, or if we have jokes, get the jokes off. But, like, I just think that, like, as it went on, like, the whole thing was like, all right, like, our chemistry is the main thing. Like, it was always just like, we have the bond of like, half the time we already know what other one is about to say, right? And a lot of times, like, we've basically workshopped some of the stuff we were going to think of saying on the show, like, to each other in private or whatever else, like, just a seed of something, just then watch how it grows, right? Like, so, for segments or for other things, and like long running things, or topics or whatever else, and discussions on the show, like, over these years. So, like, to me, it felt like, a lot of it, most of it is like those same conversations we would always have about whatever stupid NBA trade, or, oh my God, they just gave Gilbert Arenas $117 million. What the fuck are they doing? Like, stuff like that. Like, that's what basically, I thought, like, I think we're pretty interesting. Let's see how people take it or whatever else. And then it turned into, all right, we got to tone down some things or whatever else. Cause and like, also I think it speaks to your maturity, and growth over the years. Like, cause when I met this kid, this is a wild boy. This man had no home training. And like, one of my great enjoyments of the show is like to remember, like, when I first met him at a barbershop, like, we were just talking about like a random, was it Double XL magazine, about the Double XL magazine for a Reasonable Doubt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we started talking about it, and then like I met this kid, and then like thought nothing of it, and then heard it, knew that he rapped everything. I was out of high school. He was a senior in high school at the time, and it was whatever. And then like me and my cousin and me and Rich's other friend Kendrick, we decided to start a music label, and we were like, remember the kid that we had and then I don't even know how we all met again, but we met again and we did all the music stuff, and then it just flashed forward to like the wrestling thing, and then the sports came along with that, and flash forward to all the years of doing it, like from when I first met you, and like see like where you are as far as like when you became a writer, and like the stuff you were doing, like for stuff on whether it was beating Hulk Hogan over the head or whatever. Like I just like was just like, that's crazy. Like I just met him by chance, and look what he's doing. Like those were always proud moments for me, and like to see some of the stuff you're doing, especially the stuff you were doing without me when I was like gone, because WWE had pissed me off so much after WrestleMania 34, and like it was just see like this dude is making killer content, and like all this stuff. Like as good of a rapper he is applying that to, you know, a different medium, and I just thought it was great. And like we'll always have the Alexa Bliss thing. Well,
forever.
That will be around for if we do this for another decade. It's coming with us to 2032. So yeah, like I just it just, and then like to see you know you met somebody, you settled down, you got married, and like. And you know, I've heard your journey and steps on how you want to become a better husband and stuff, and like that brings me joy. Like all of this whole thing from 2000 into 2006 to now. Like that's just like this is almost like a time capsule of our friendship.
Yeah,
and it's brought to the viewers of the last 10 years. So like I think it's really cool. And you know, like the show has evolved. Like we started and we were just talking like. The first like was a 2-part thing where like we were riff for like we were trying to go 45 minutes on sports, 45 minutes on WWE, and then it turned more naturally into more pro wrestling as we give it more time and investment into pro wrestling. And like even from there, like us, you know, finding the wrestling that we wanted to get more enjoyment out of this to see if there was something more, and like those risks or those chances in like turning into things that we've, you know, has literally kept us afloat as far as our fandom in pro wrestling at the time. Cause like, if not for Wrestle Kingdom 9, good Lord.
Yeah. You'll see the list.
Yeah. Like if not for Wrestle King, you know, if not for, you know, NXT Arrival, if not for, you know, Wrestle Kingdom 9, if not for All In, if not for All Out, or Double or Nothing, if you want to call it. If not for like, you know, I randomly decide, hey, let's like some of these ones are really good. They came from this promotion called Stardom. Sierra says they do some good things. She doesn't really rock with the promoter or whatever else, but like let me look around and see some of these like, you know, vault matches or whatever else, and being blown away and then getting into it and like, what a fucking luck. Like, like they were like, you know, in the middle of the pack. They were probably at the top as far as drawing with, you know, Ice Ribbon or Oz Academy at the time for big shows or whatever else in 2019. And then like, it literally like turns to this year, the clear cut number 2 promotion in Japan as far as drawing, selling tickets. Like, that's fucking wild.
Like, and we were like, it felt like we caught the wave, like kind of at just the right time. Like, right. And like, yeah, so it all this stuff, like, you know, the Ring of Honor stuff and the guys from that, you know, Ring of Honor New Japan thing starting up, or Impact as well, starting up AEW, like all of that stuff, just following this stuff along with like us growing this interested with WWE and being like, look, man, we can kill this stuff and rightfully so because it stinks, but like, I kind of want to watch something that I enjoy. So it turned into finding other avenues to keep the show going. And I think it made us a more open show to anything that's out there in the world. You know, like, right. I never would have thought that, like, when we started the show that, like, we would spend a portion of our time at random covering a like Noah's Budokan Hall show from a few months ago. Like, what? I didn't even know what that was.
Right.
Like when we started. And it's like, it's really like our journey through our wrestling fandom where it was very closed off, and then it just like it kept opening and opening and opening, and then to the point where it's like I feel like anything is almost eligible to be covered on this show at this point.
We covered Tokyo Joshi Pro's Sumo Hall show this year, Rich.
Yeah, and it feels good to do this stuff with James, and it's just, you know, every time like I come to the show, I know that like it's like I don't feel like we're competing with each other or anything, but I feel like, damn, there's a really smart guy I'm doing this show with who's like not fucking around at all, who has a razor sharp memory. I have to come like and be entertaining and be funny, and then like, you know, it's just like we're playing a lot of inside baseball in this. So I'm telling you guys how we think about doing the show, and sometimes it's like, hey, just press play, we'll figure it out on the air. That's definitely happened a lot. And just relying on, you know, being friends with each other for years and years before the show was valuable during the show, because like me and James could disagree and yell at each other and whatever, and it's still love, and you know, it's not a personal thing with us. So
right. And you know, you hear about like all these type of combinations and, you know, people splitting up for whatever reason, like, you know, in media or whatever else, like Mike and Mad Dog eventually, like, they butted heads too much, they had to split up, right? Because that's never happening with us, because like we're friends and like we butt heads about this and then we'll go move on to talk about something else. And like, if you are dead set on something, I'll just let it go. It's not a big deal. Like, and that's also another part. Like, for me, it was conscious. I don't know about you, but like, I never wanted to do one of those embrace debate shows. I think they're like just the worst. And I don't really think people really do that with pro wrestling or whatever else. But like, I believe, you know, somewhere down the line where there's some, you know, whether Bill Simmons gets bored with what's going on with the Ringer, like, hey man, this shit ain't. Let's first take it up, and then all of a sudden you get like, you know, somebody with Rosenberg to be very combative about it and go back and forth like that. That is like, I think that would be ruinous for like the Twitter world. Like, I never want to do those shows, and I think like they're actually like, it's that kind of like political talk radio, political like cable show where it's like you have your perspective, you have literally the polar opposite perspective, and it's not about being necessarily right or wrong or trying to find understanding or meet in the middle. It's about like shouting out one side's opinion, shouting at the other side's opinion, so both sides feel validated for one half of the segment, and the other half they're antagonized. And like, I think that sucks, because it's not actually, you're not trying to actually figure out anything or learn anything or you know what I'm saying? Like, I always thought it sucked. I always felt like it was useless, and like, but people love it, and I'm just like, I can't. Like, so I haven't watched like First Take in like, I probably swore off First Take before we even started this show. But like, I never wanted to do that. If I was going to do that, if that was what this show was ever going to morph into or whatever else, like, I would not have been a part of it. So like, I enjoy the part where like we disagree on things and we could like just leave it where it is and be like, okay, I get it, I don't, whatever else, agree to disagree. Like, I can't remember what we agreed to disagree on like a couple weeks ago, and it was one to roll the show for like 5 minutes or whatever else, but like, it's like, whatever, let's move on. It is what it is, we're at an impasse. Like, so yeah, I just think that's what the show is about, is like trying to, you know, work towards truth and our understanding for like what is going on, or like what is, because you mentioned like the two smart dudes thing or whatever else. Like, if I ain't got it, I know you got it, and if both of us ain't got it, then it probably stinks. Like, just straight up, like, either something has to either something is missing to be later like put into place, make everything click, or it just stinks. Period. So yeah, I think that's what made the show work over the years.
Yeah. If you guys are in the comments, let us know what you guys think about it. We do have the audio. I guess we can roll into now. The drops come from listeners of the show. I believe my wife sent in one. There's I believe it's about 15 minutes audio. So we're going to be here on the stream. If you guys left, if you're on the stream right now and you did audio, prepare for your voice to be heard. And if you guys are hearing the podcast version, James is going to insert it right here. So you'll just hear that. You won't hear us react. I have not heard what anyone's going to say, so I'm going to try not to turn into a blubbering baby. If you know, it's you know, deep heartwarming thing y'all are preparing for us. So I believe I sent a snarky tweet. I was like, do not make us cry on the air. I don't want to do that. But let's see what it is. So James, if you want to pull up your audio, if you can hear it, I'm going to go ahead and get it started. And I believe I am leading it off with Jeremy Donovan from Keepin It Strong Style. So we will pull everything. I'm just going to play everything straight through here. Here we go.
Hey, Rich and James. Jeremy here from Keepin It Strong Style. I want to congratulate you guys on 10 years of One Nation Radio. I've listened to the show since 2014 when I first met Rich through Twitter. Since then, you two have become two of my best friends. We have had several wrestling travel trips. We've built up Social Suplex to what it is today. It's been so awesome to see how One Nation Radio has grown and evolved over the years. There are hundreds of wrestling podcasts out there, but there's only one Rich Latta and one James Boyd. You guys make the show authentic, funny, and special. So I'm looking forward to 10 more years of dropping off the rest of the IWC, ripping trash into bits, and hitting the music. Congrats again, guys.
Hey, Rich. Hey, James. Congratulations on 10 great years. This is Bruce from about 2,000 miles to the north up here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. So I don't remember when I first found you guys online. I don't remember the first episode that I ever listened to, but I do know that there was one episode of One Nation Radio that will always stand out to me as kind of my favorite One Nation Radio moment, and it has nothing to do with wrestling. It was the Kobe Bryant special. That was a very tough time, and I just was really impressed with your honesty, your vulnerability, and your willingness to be emotional on the air. I knew right then and there that One Nation Radio was something special. Like I said, congratulations on 10 great years, and I'm looking forward to listening for another 10. Well done, guys.
10 years of One Nation Radio on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Thank you, guys, for the great years of audio. And this is Danny from the Great Match Generator podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. My memories of One Nation Radio are just interacting with you guys and interacting with how real and humble you and James are in the group chat. Hopefully I get to meet y'all one of these days and shoot the breeze with you guys, because Rich and James, you two are real dudes, man. That's all I have to say.
James, Rich, it's your boy MJ Does PR. Just want to congratulate you both on 10 years of One Nation Radio. You guys are talented broadcasters and amazing community builders. What you guys have built here is a real, authentic community, and you've got a lot to be proud of. So thank you for everything you've done, all the work you've put in. It's valued, it's appreciated, all that good stuff. And with that said, there's just one thing left to do. Hit the music! I've always wanted to say that out loud.
Hey, Rich and James, it's JML here. Wanted to say happy 10th anniversary to One Nation Radio. You guys have been one of my favorite podcasts for the last couple of years. And like I talked to you guys before when you let me be a guest on One Nation Radio, which kind of blows my mind. You guys are much needed in the podcast space, especially with black podcasts, wrestling podcasts. I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for being here. You guys entertained me for many of hours, including dating back to the Raw show on Loads of Pain. So happy 10th anniversary, and basically thank you so much for being around, and hope you guys have much more continued success. Take care.
Hey guys, this is Rambo and Slam Pig. I just wanted to send you a note to say how much I appreciate the podcast and everything you guys do. I think both of you bring a lot to the table, and I really appreciate it. Rich, I think our taste in wrestling and the wrestlers we support are pretty similar, big overlap there. So I definitely appreciate hearing your takes. Even when you dive into some conspiracies, I appreciate that too, even if I can't rock with you all the time. And James, I appreciate as a kind of a parachuting in and out fan of Stardom, the fact that you kind of break it down and give context to everything that's going on so that when I show up to watch one of the big shows, I kind of have a sense of what's happening. I appreciate that as well. The podcast is a lot of fun. I don't miss an episode. I really look forward to it. I appreciate a lot of the shows on the Social Suplex podcast network, and you guys are definitely one of the top ones. So thank you so much for everything. I hope you keep going. I look forward to many episodes to come, and I appreciate everything you've done so far. Thank you very much, guys, and happy 10-year anniversary.
From the deep, dark depths of the LOP Columns forums, to the Dean Ambrose debates of 2018, to trying to moderate the comment sections that Rich Latta was just lighting on fire, to the great Daniel Bryan conspiracies. Look, over the time that I've been listening to you guys, I've become a fan of Japanese wrestling. You guys have become a fan of Jon Moxley. I knew he'd get you eventually. I knew it. And it gives me just so much pleasure to congratulate you guys on getting 10 years of One Nation Radio. You guys have gone the big lift. You've trucked your nut hard and straight. You've busted your ass week in, week out to bring the people the show of the people. Seriously though, lads, I don't have a lot of friends in my real life who enjoy wrestling. So every week, I really look forward to listening to you guys on One Nation Radio. You're always honest and you're real with your opinions and where you stand. But at the same time, you always remember that ultimately we're watching blokes in budgie smugglers fake fighting. So it doesn't always have to be serious. Thank you for all the entertainment. Thank you for all of the hard work that goes into it. I've got a podcast. I know how much hard work goes into it. And I've been only doing this thing for like 9 months. Here's to 10 more years for you guys. And happy birthday to One Nation Radio. Oh, and in case you didn't get it from the accent, it's Sam from the AEW Match Guide. Thanks again, lads.
What's good, y'all? This is James Brown, yo. You might have seen my username in the Twitch chats or on Twitter or whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to show love to One Nation Radio 10-year anniversary. James and Rich, congratulations. I discovered this podcast less than a year ago, and since I found it, I haven't stopped listening. I randomly found it through Twitter, just seeing some takes or whatever I agree with. And then I found out, the people behind the podcast were black. And I was like, okay, now I really got to peep this. And I ended up tuning in and liking what I heard. Heard some, NBA talk, and I'm a huge basketball hoops head. And so that brought me in even more, and that can get wrestling and hoops in one place. But not only that, but you guys talk about, just even the stuff that's not wrestling, like, if you dip into playoff football or baseball stuff or some type of pop culture controversy going on, you guys are just really entertaining to listen to and funny. As far as it comes to wrestling, I like that you guys, you keep it real on what you like. You don't front about like, you don't act like flips aren't cool or whatever to fit in with like some of your peers or whatever. Like, you guys like what you like and you're honest about what you like. Like, I like some of the more technical stuff too, like a Zack Sabre Jr. or whatever, but I'm not going to act like Lucha Libre isn't fire. And I like that about you guys. I also like that you guys have your fingers on the pulse of the business more than most wrestling podcasts. A lot of podcasts out are either old timers who are just out of the loop, and some of the more popular old timer podcasts even kind of have like a weird, like racist, sexist kind of like tinge to them. Like the vibe just feels like a little uncomfortable. Like, should I be listening to this? And then some of you guys is, some of the more younger peers you guys have in the wrestling media with podcasts, like who haven't been in the business and are just content creators, like they seem to be very out of the loop and very obvious spoon-fed, like very obvious storyline things that are spoon-fed to you. They seem to just not understand these things. And it gets irritating to me as a fan because I'm just like, how do you get paid to do this? Because like, this is something very obvious you should get. And you guys just always seem to be the right podcast for me. I like that you guys aren't super reactionary. Like, sports has become very reactionary over the past decade. And I think, pro wrestling has kind of fed off that. And you guys aren't going to act like AEW is dead because of a bad segment or whatever. You guys are very good at processing things and just like being rational about things, and even being rational about promotions that you don't really, watch like that. Like, I don't watch WWE anymore, but when you guys break down stuff like SummerSlam, etc., and when you guys ain't like joking or whatever, and you're like being serious, breaking down a match or a segment, like, you're very fair and rational about it. And it's just like, it's just a good listen for me. Yeah, man, I wish you guys the best of luck. And yeah.
Rich Ladder, James Boyd, it's Joe Saber here all the way down in Australia. Just wanted to send you guys a message to say congratulations on 10 years of One Nation Radio. Stumbled onto Rich when he was on the Doc Says podcast with the one and only Chad Matthews, and then just followed him around there and obviously got to One Nation Radio. It's been awesome to listen to you guys. Congratulations on 10 years. And let's bring back the LeBron James You Bum of the Week. That's been sorely missed. So let's bring that back, boys. Congratulations. Take care.
This is Maserati of the Grave Consequences podcast. Just want to say congratulations to One Nation Radio for 10 years in the podcasting business. I want to also thank them for giving me and Caleb an opportunity on the Grave Consequences podcast. And we're proud of them and happy for them, and they deserve all the success they're getting.
Hey guys, it's Catherine. Just wanted to congratulate you on your 10 years of your podcast. I think it's amazing. You guys have gained so many followers, have done so many shows, and I hope you guys get to continue doing what you love. Congratulations.
I know I'm sending this in at the 11th hour here, but part of it is because I wasn't quite sure how to surmise and, say what I wanted to say about you guys and the last 10 years. So here goes. Big congratulations to James and Rich on 10 years of One Nation Radio. And I mean, a lot has happened over this past decade. A lot of friendships, a lot of changes, a lot of loss, a lot of growth. I mean, I literally owe my entire, content creation journey and odyssey to you guys. Without One Nation Radio, there'd definitely be no Keepin It Strong Style. There definitely wouldn't be a young boy Joshua Smith. And it's not just about me. There wouldn't be a Social Suplex podcast network, or if there was, it would be a lot different. And without you guys, there'd definitely be a lot more bullshit out here in the wrestling fandom. So thank you guys for always keeping it a buck. Thank you for always making sure that it is the no flex zone, and if people come, kicking that bullshit, you rip them to bits. And thank you guys for your perspective, your hard work, your integrity, everything that you guys do, the years and years of inside jokes and entertainment, and sitting through Vincent Kennedy McMahon's pro wrestling, and everywhere else that has taken you guys, whether it be your AEW fandom, your journey with New Japan, your Odyssey, covering Stardom and Joshi and Lucha Libre and everything in between. I know there's a lot of people that try to go out there and claim that they're the best, but and I know you guys like to try to say you're the best black wrestling podcast, but I'm going to change that. That might be true, but you guys are probably, if not the best wrestling podcast out there on the airwaves. I feel like after 10 years, this is just the start of something that's very big and something that is growing and something that is gaining attention and eyes. And you guys are the draw, big draws in the business, top guys. So thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for the years of travel and the years of coverage, and all the friendships we've gained, and marriages, and just life changes and everything we've gone through together. And let's continue to do this thing, and congratulations, because you guys do it the best. All right, so there you go. I'm a little bit over my time, but hope you guys appreciate it, and looking forward to catching this show and many, many more. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Man, thank all you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you. That was great.
That was really great.
I listened to it earlier, like probably I don't know, probably like around 9 something or whatever else, just to make sure, like, because I know I said like I was gonna screen it, like, so I just wanted to make sure there would be no fucks. You'd be like, hey, Rich, you got to take out somebody's so and so thing. But yeah, it was great. It was great. And yeah, it was that was really cool to hear from a lot of different people, different reasons why they like the show or whatever else. And like it was heartwarming and really heartfelt, and I felt the love and I appreciate it. That was great.
Thank you guys so much for that. From, you know, our folks in Canada, MJ and Bruce, our Aussie lads, Joe and Sam, everybody, just Jeremy and Josh, Catherine.
My favorite was Catherine. Catherine has to hear that like over in the next couple rooms over every so often, or basically every single Monday or every Sunday at times, or, you know, back when it was, you know, we were super low tech, and like I was coming over like to record these bad shows. like not necessarily that the content was bad, but like the way these things were rigged together to be recorded and produced were like outrageously low tech. And like, yeah, so like, especially shout out to her, because like she was letting that stuff be in her personal space, you know, all that time. Yeah. So that was
and you guys don't know the battles I've lost on that front. So it's, you know, a lot of this show is like, you know, I feel like she's the third silent partner of One Nation Radio. Like, hey,
definitely an invisible hand. Definitely,
you know, like, you know, so much love to her, and just everyone else that wrote in. James Brown YO, appreciate, you know, what you said on there. Rambones, Slam Pig, Greg. So I'm sure there may be, you know, if you guys didn't, you know, get to send one in, you can feel free to send one in, rich@socialsuplex.com, if you wanted us to hear it. If you were shy or didn't want to do that, we'll always let you put us over a little bit. But yeah, man, this is like I think it's cool that people, you know, have different reasons that they like the show. Some people like to, you know, when we talk about other things besides the wrestling, some people, you know, enjoy the honesty of the show, the entertainment of the show, the inside jokes. A lot of people wanting to hit the music like your boy, I see. So you know, trendsetter, you know, as they would say. But yeah, just once again, just thank you to everyone. Like, this is thank you to James for sure. And I, you know, I always will say I will always want to do One Nation Radio. It will never like be a time where I'm like, you know what, I'm good. Like, it's not like, you know, it's, you know, wrestling's always changing. It's never stays the same. Yeah. And I think one thing that I enjoy about our show is like, and I think I kind of went on a, I don't know if this was a Twitter thread I put out recently or in our group chats. If you ever like happen to be in a group chat with me, you never know what might come in there, because I went on this
various agendas.
Yeah, various agendas. Some of it's all real,
running concurrently. Yes.
There's an agenda happening right now for those that are on video, and they don't even know it yet. But
I heard this is what you were talking about earlier, and I was like, no, just no.
But it's just like, you know, I feel like it's important to fight for like what our ideas of good wrestling are, and really learn how to process history as it happens, because too often people let shit go by them and they never realize how good it was, and they're always pining for the past, always. And
yeah,
with that, if you know how to see it in real time, that makes it easier to see what's down the road. Yeah. Like, and we have this joke like amongst ourselves, like always ahead, and it's just observing what's happening right now, and it'll tell you what's going to happen soon. It's not really a mystery. It's not science.
Yeah, we often get in these things. We're like, where the hell was everybody else at when we were here? Like, it is not like we're tuning our horns. Like, you didn't see the thing that we thought was like glaringly obvious to everyone else. Yeah, like you mentioned the talk about the greatness in real time thing. Like, we mentioned that especially during the Ospreay Kevin Nash thing from a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And like, you know, I think that's the thing, like, for us is, like, when we talk about, you know, like, the one clip from last year around this time of, like, or about close to a year, like, when we put up that clip of, like, just going through, like, the Grand Prix last year and, like, Shuri's run to become a legend. And we're like, yo, she's the best women's wrestler in the world. Like, period. It is what it is. Like, she just had, like, a 4.5 or 2 4 or 3/4 star matches in a row in, like, a 25-minute span back to back to win this thing. And then, like, you know, she has a legendary title win. Like, we often do this, right? Like, you know, a few weeks before we even got to the Kevin Nash things, or maybe a week before, like, we were talking about, like, what the run that Will Ospreay looks like he's set up to have. And, you know, it is interesting, like, because I don't think we're doing much different than what we would do when we talk about, like, oh my God, look what LeBron James was doing, like, you know, a decade ago. Like, this dude is set to be, like, one of the, like, we all know he's going to be one of the greatest all the time, but, like, it's going to be different from what we've seen from anybody. Or when we talk about, like, someone like, you know, Patrick Mahomes right now, like, what the fuck, like, what? Like, those kind of, like, people, like, I don't feel like they get, like, in sports we do this, but in wrestling, people don't really give out that sort of praise. It's like, what have you drawn, kid? And it's like, so I'm not supposed to, like, appreciate I'm not supposed to, like, have fun with what I'm watching now because, like, it hasn't done this arbitrary number or benchmark or whatever. It's like, nah, man, like, the kids don't get to have no fun until they turn 35. And like, you don't get to see people. It's like this weird thing of, like, you don't get to appreciate, like, what has happened. Like, I hope people, you know, now at least, like, appreciate, like, what, you know, the horsewomen have done for pro wrestling in America. Around where it's like, yeah, women can draw, women can be on top, women can main event WrestleMania, women can do all these sorts of things, women can have their own pay-per-view and have the best main roster pay-per-view, you know, that year in the whole fucking company, right? Like, these indie kids can go out there in front of 15,000 people and have like the greatest shows WWE has ever had. Like, when we were watching NXT, or like, you can see what, like, Kenny Omega or Okada or Tanahashi and the things they were doing that were, like, so different and in a good way from, like, what we were brought up on, and be like, yo, this is totally different. And, like, it just feels like you can feel the passion and energy in the fans and, like, the violence and like, just, like, the frenetic energy of the build to, like, the crescendo of, like, just this amazing array of action that, like, you just do not see, you just were not, like, privy to here.
I feel so fortunate to have started, like, opening up the wrestling world when we did, because, like, in 2015 when we watched it was like a shock to the system, right? Like, oh my God, there was nothing like this that I've ever, like, really experienced. But at the same time, that generation was still young. They were still building. They would still go through, like, a raid, like, and lose talent. But, like, at the same time, everything was on the ascension. So it was like, I found, like, Kenny Omega, who's, like, I'm going to talk about him later, but, you know, I found, like, you know, like Okada and Tanahashi, and I felt like I was watching all this important stuff. Had I, like, just, like, kept my head up my ass for years and years, it's like, we would have, like, missed out on this whole thing and not really known how to, like, there are plenty of people that don't know how to process what they're seeing now because they weren't living it in real time, like, with that. Like, they don't understand why it's a big deal for Okada to show up on TNT. They don't understand, you know, like, the what it took for the Elite to build this shit, like, out the fucking muck. Like, when they were, like, when I was damn near emotional when the Bucks won the IWGP tag team titles from Evil and Sonata, the heavyweight ones, and after breaking through and being seeing them come for being juniors for forever, going to the muck, not being full timers, and, like, figuring it out from there. And it's like a lot of these, like, things like that happen. I feel fortunate to not understand it. Like, and not
being one of the people saying, "Hey, well, why can't we get a replay?" Or why can't we get a video package for this person? It's like, this company does not exist if not for this person. Like, even though you don't know this, but, like, yeah.
Right.
Like, it could be mentioned in passing, but like, normally pro wrestling was built on reactions, and you see the whole crowd going nuts. Okay, the crowd went nuts for Shibata. You don't need a video package to know about Shibata. He's never wrestling for this company ever. He's just gonna show up, kick some ass, and then they get Orange Cassidy's shades put on him. Like,
Right.
it's fine. You don't need to know every little minute detail and backstory and lore to appreciate something that wasn't necessarily for you. Like, pro wrestling isn't for everybody, and not every single moment is for every single person. It's nice if everyone knew everything, but that's not the case. Just like it is in movies. Like, a movie you watch does not tell you every single thing you need to know, especially like a sequel, right? They need to tell you every single little minute detail. Hopefully you watch this movie and like the second movie enough that you want to go back and watch the first one, if you missed the first one.
Yeah. I guess we should start getting into some of our lists that we have. So on the first ever episode of like One Nation Radio, like the wrestling one, we gave.
Stop right there. I have the list. Let me send it over to you.
Okay.
And let's put that up. Just to give you a reference of where we were started from as fans of just North American pro wrestling, just basically WCW, WWFE, and in parts of ECW, basically, maybe a sprinkle of Crockett here and there of JCP. Yeah, so where is this at? Oh, sheets. All right, so It was crazy looking at this, or looking back at this, a few weeks ago, I think. A few weeks ago when I looked at this. So yeah, I'm gonna send it over to you now.
And if you guys would like to, I kind of want to put some of the old shows on the One Nation Radio exclusive feed. This is also something like some general housekeeping that we do need to mention. So we love the fact that everyone listens to the show. We do like a lot awesome listenership on the Social Suplex feed. But if you want to support this show even further, there's the One Nation Radio feed that if you download the show from that one will support the show even more. That one will go more directly into funding the show, qualify us for certain things, blah, blah, blah. Find the One Nation Radio one, download them from both. Do that for us. But yes, I will definitely. I think we should definitely put up the throwback episodes on that show as an incentive to subscribe to that feed.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know what has just happened. Like, that page has page unresponsive. Yeah, exit page. I'm not going through that. All right. So, yeah, but like looking through this thing is just funny to me. So, all right, let's go into this again. And let's press share, and let's send this off to Rich.
All right, let's see where we at on this.
All right, I just sent it to you.
Okay. Is it?
It says ONR favorite wrestlers.
Is it an email?
I sent it. I guess I sent it to your email. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to pull it up on the screen on Twitch for the list or viewers.
Okay, let me find this.
I still can't believe that all these years ago, like I still just like I left off the rock. What is wrong with me?
Okay. Please let me know if you guys can see that whole thing. I'm trying to get it there. Whole thing's not on there. Okay. 1 second, guys. Alrighty. So we've got, I guess we should just read them off. So I'll start with mine and you start with yours.
Oh man. Okay. Like mine was just giving out names. I didn't actually rank mine except for like the beginning, but whatever. Basically everything was honorable mention except for like the top 3 or something like that. But go ahead.
So I had Shawn Michaels.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing top down. Okay. I had Shawn Michaels, Undertaker as a 1A, 1B.
Yeah. I had The Rock.
I had CM Punk.
Bret Hart.
Sting.
Chris Jericho.
Steve Austin. Randy Orton.
Ric Flair.
Triple H.
Hulk Hogan.
Undertaker. Bret Hart.
CM Punk.
Ultimate Warrior.
Randy Orton.
Scott Hall.
John Cena.
Rob Van Dam.
Triple H.
Ric Flair.
Daniel Bryan.
Rey Mysterio.
Owen Hart.
Randy Savage.
Rick Rude.
Kevin Nash.
Kevin Nash.
Kane.
Woo. Scott Hall.
John Cena.
Rob Van Dam.
Eddie Guerrero.
Edge.
British Bulldog.
Sting.
Daniel Bryan.
Mick Foley.
Chris Jericho.
Booker T.
Bro, I have been walling here.
Man.
Right.
Austin Aries.
Goldberg.
Yeah, man.
We've come a long way.
On these. These lists are very different now.
Yeah. Like this isn't. So for me, this was like my list for the O&R years.
O&R years here too.
Yeah, like if we were to do the list, like it would be some modifications or whatever else, but like most of my favorite wrestlers are all from the last 10 years we've been covering pro wrestling. Like then you throw in people like Rock Austin, Bret Hart, that kind of stuff. Those kind of accommodations, obviously, but yeah, like those lists in 2012, like
rough,
man. Like freaking out over a fucking 3 3/4 star matchup that went on like third from the top on a pay-per-view and be like, yo, this was shit. Like,
be out here like, yo, they gave us 2 good matches on a pay-per-view. What else can you expect?
Right.
That was like something that we regularly said, like that was normal or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess we can go through I think I have mine in order. I wrote a top 10 originally and then I added to it, so I feel comfortable going in reverse order.
Okay, so I didn't want to. It was excruciating, like doing this. Like I called Rich earlier today and I was like, hey, I'm gonna do the list. Similar when we do like best favorite matches of the year thing for the end of year stuff, and I was just like, yo, I am really going to struggle with this. And I always forget that, like, when I do this process to try to narrow it down, it makes me agonize over more things, right? So it's like, normally when I do a match of the year thing, like, I do, all right, what are my 10 favorite matches from this promotion? Then and then I'm like, all right, let me put those in order, rank those, and then rank my top 10, like, overall. And it makes it even more agonizing. So what I ended up doing was like, all right, I'm main roster, in top 10 main roster, top 10 NXT, top 10 AEW, top 10 New Japan, top 10 Stardom, and I agonized over all those lists, and then sped out 20 out of those lists. And like I gotta say, I'm never gonna learn my lesson on this. I'm probably gonna do it the same way when we do year end stuff for best matches and shit. Like But anyway, I basically what I narrowed it down to was like, who were the people? I made basically tiers. Like, who were the people that like at any given point over the last decade were like actually people that I actually recognize as like, these were actually my favorite wrestlers at any given moment. And like, they made it, right? Then from there, I put in like the WWEers that like foundational, can't take them off because of like where they, like, whatever else. And then after that, like I filled in the rest, after that based off of like, the things that make you a fan, like the things you've said on podcasts, the things that you have done like where you dark agendas about or whatever else, the things that you have gone on air and talked passionately about, or people that like maybe you haven't, but maybe it's the time to do it now. Like that was the below that, but like, so yeah, like I'm ready whenever you are.
Yeah, I basically put a lot of people in here that I just, in the last 10 years, either I was a really big fan of, I couldn't picture myself talking about the 20 without them, or they made it really fun to cover them, or there was like, they were just really important to me. Like,
I agonized. Like some, like people that were like cuts off at like some of the people that were cut offs at like 20, 21, and 22 were heartbreaking. It was like, I got so many agendas. I didn't realize it, but yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really get as much like Stardom on here as I wanted, but it just didn't. Like, I've got other things to get to, so yeah. I'll lead it off. Number 20 for me, Roman Reigns, the big dog, the tribal chief. He's been essentially the top guy in WWE for like the last 7 years, on or off, depending on, whether he's in and out the company. Polarizing for sure. Sometimes his work kind of bores me at times, like in his more recent runs, but I can't deny that he's been a part of just electric television as far as like driving the conversation. His big match performances as a heavyweight wrestler in America, I think he's been more good than bad for sure. Yeah. But definitely somebody that you would like, any promoter would make him the top guy. I understand the idea behind him, and I was very early on the Roman Reigns train, like saying like that's going to be the guy they push. Like he's got it. Like, and like from like the first couple matches, I believe myself, Jeremy, we were, there's a famous picture of us in the Roman Reigns t-shirts, the Believe That ones before the 2015 Royal Rumble. They fucked with that guy's career a lot.
They did.
I could only imagine if a Tony Khan got his hands on a Roman Reigns from the time he came in. I think the results might be a little bit better. This run that everyone loves right now could have been happening a long time ago. He could have been back around the other side by this point. And his career has been very interesting to follow because he kind of mirrors like WWE, like the over pushing of him and then the rejection of the audience. And, even the times like where he is as much of a victim of their booking as he is someone that benefits from it. So it's weird, but, yeah, shouts out to Roman Reigns. I couldn't make this list without him.
So I did a tier, like I said, favorite wrestlers at any given moment. Second tier is foundational people. And the next is like just the agendas was too strong that they just had to have made it. Number 20 for me. I am putting the Young Bucks in right there. The Young Bucks are not my favorite tag team. But I think from the tag teams I've ever seen, they are the best tag team I've ever seen. And they are like, kind of have for me, like created separation. The three best tag team matches I've ever seen, they were in two of them. That kind of lets you know where I'm coming from. They've been incredible. I've seen them in ladder matches. I've seen them in faction matches. I've seen them, or basically like Survivor Series matches. I've seen them in regular matches. I've seen them in ladder wars,
street fights.
Just street fights, all that. They're incredible in any circumstance. I think they're best tag team ever. Like, I might prefer other people. They're not as good as the Young Bucks. They're just not. It is what it is. Like, that's just a taste thing. They're just incredible. They're overwhelming. Like, when 50 Cent was talking about Jay-Z, like, the consistency breaks your neck. That's them. So they rightfully so, they deserve the list. And like, if I think about it more, I may be able to move them higher up this like agendas list or tier section of it. But yeah, incredible.
Number 19, John Cena. John Cena was somebody that won me over in the middle of 2012 when he was cutting the promos with CM Punk and Bret Hart in the ring. He was someone that I thought was very corny for a long time with the raps he was doing. I thought he was a wigger. I thought he was just lame, just flat out. Like, I didn't like his wrestling. I thought he was clunky, and then it just all kind of came together after, like, when The Rock started coming back around, and I came back because of The Rock and all that, and wanted to beat John Cena. I enjoyed WrestleMania 28 quite a lot, and then started seeing like how Cena for this time was like what they claim Hogan was or whatever, but I felt like Cena was like really, like, I feel like in a modern context, like he adapted his wrestling style. He he gave a fuck. He always wanted to get better. He tried his ass off. That goes a long way, especially compared directly to his opposite comparison in Randy Orton. Like Cena is somebody just. I thought at one point he was a 10 out of 10 wrestler. 10, or we gave him a perfect score on a Bret Hart scale. It was a 10 out of 10 wrestler, 10 out of 10 promo, 10 out of 10 look. Vince McMahon was right, like about Cena, and he's the ultimate babyface. He's someone that I don't think the wrestling business appreciated enough while he was here, especially at the end. I don't think WWE appreciated him and the way he was. Their last real true draw, and the way they didn't really protect him at the end, I didn't appreciate it. But his want to get better when he didn't have to impressed me a lot, especially in 2015 and forward. He was around because Roman Reigns couldn't do his job at a certain point. And it was when those years with Cena in 2015 and 16 and 17, it was like, yo, like this dude is cold. Like, and I'll always have lots of respect for Cena.
Yep. Number 19 for me, Kagetsu from Stardom. Like for me, watching her, on the day in, day out basis, or whatever you want to call it, every other day type of thing in Stardom, like from when I started watching in 2019, she was the first Red Belt champ when I first started watching. And like to see her go out there and have, Corkin Hall anniversary show match with Jungle Kiona, and then like and you see her spit the mist, and you see the gear that's impeccable, and like even though it's very rare to have gear that for a lot of people to think looks like great, and also for most of the part it's like monotone, like her basically be like either all red or in white or in black or red or black and white, and all in the look and like the face paint and the charisma and the like you watch Japanese pro wrestling, you see like you get the translation, but like but to feel somebody's like charisma come through and like to see like them not fumble over words and be like eloquent, and like that's what she gave off at all times. And like she's my first Red Belt champion. I thought she lived up to the role of it, and then hearing about like she was actually like the trainer at the time, and hear a story of how like she was one of the people in Shinjo, and like she was getting her ass kicked, and then like she took a chance on going around, and they ended up in Stardom, and then they gave her so much, and she took every advantage, all that stuff, and like she always wanted to give back, and like her like campaigning to get B the red belt and all that kind of stuff, because they felt like the need to like reach out for a foreign star, and her belief in like her improvement. Like when you hear people talk about like, especially back then, like they were so hard on like the people that weren't good at the time, and they were rare. And like we talk about like the real time thing, seeing these changes in real time, like they were so late to see that like these people improve, people like Tam, people like B, and to see like that match when she put her over and she puts on the fucking neck brace and put her over, like it was great. And then like to see her send off match in Stardom anyway, or her last big match where she's in the year-end climax and all that kind of stuff, and incredible match with Mayu, her biggest rival in Stardom, and then her send-off match on her own solo show with Meiko Satomura was just like, I miss the hell out of him. I miss the hell out of them. Just an incredible giving pro wrestler, and like everything I want out of pro wrestling. Just somebody that's entertaining, energetic, charismatic, athletic as hell, and just like great storyteller, great seller, willing to give up, just so giving, just great. Yeah, so that's Getsu.
Number 18, the Cowboy, Hangman Page. Hangman Page has got on this list out of sheer will. Like sheer will. He willed himself like on this list. Like when I think about like the Elite and what his role is, and it's like, man, he was just the guy that would like, it is real hard to like, to hang out, be in a group with Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and then draw any type of attention at all to yourself. His arc to becoming a world champion was one I'll never forget. And his title reign was like just a blueprint, I think, for being in the ring for a first time champion in America. He's connected with a way. connected in a way with a lot of people that, you know, I'm trying to understand. I understand it some, but like there are certain times where I completely get it. And he's by all accounts, he's a great guy, except for, unless your name is Phil Brooks. But I think he's, like he's one of these guys that has this hybrid style. He's a big brawler. He's very athletic. He does flips. He's a new age modern wrestler. And if we could get a Steve Austin to come along nowadays, I think it would look like Hangman Page. And he's like, I think he's incredible. I think he's going to continue to go up this list possibly in the future.
Well said. Heyman's been awesome. Like, when given the opportunity, he's been awesome. Next for me, 18, Shuri. Currently my third favorite wrestler in Stardom. And quite frankly, after the way I just gushed about Kagetsu, like, if I had to do just bolts passing at night and miss each other, like, star match, like, that would be my match, Kagetsu and Shuri, like, because they give off, for me, just so many of the same things when I watch them on a day-to-day basis, when, like, wrestling's young wrestlers, they actually giving them something and, like, not being selfish and, like, willing to put over maybe not someone is ready's best looking thing or whatever else, but selling it regardless, just because, like, this is how you're trying to have a match here. It is about, like, giving to this person so you believe in them for the future, even though you're going to win. And, like, so much of that, like, with Shuri, like, I felt like, Kagetsu left and Shuri came in and felt that void, like, in leadership and, like, just spiritually. Maybe she's not as much of a loon or do you say delinquent, or not delinquent? That's not the word. Like, terrorist, like Kagetsu was at times, but, just regal and carries herself like a star and like the baddest woman on the planet, like, or in the ring anyway. Just, that's what she gives off. And, like, the run that she had last year, and the protection she had to even get to that moment where, like, I don't know if this was ever the plan, but like, all this stuff fell and the stars aligned and it all happened. And I'm so happy it did, because, like, that run that she had all last year were just, like, it's some of the best, like, wrestling I've ever seen, regardless of the gender, regardless of genders or any of that. Like, she just is one of the best champions we have going, maybe the best champion we have going this year in pro wrestling. And I'm bell to bell, and I'm just so happy that, like, somebody with her enthusiasm level and care, like, someone that gives a damn, is also that as good of a wrestler as she is. She seems to be, like, that level of person too. So I'm really happy for her, and I'm glad that, like, after years and years and years of grinding and washing other people's gear and having to learn how to make gear to survive in this business, when she started out, that, like, this is where she's at. She's at the pinnacle of the #2 wrestling promotion in Japan. She wasn't supposed to get to here, and she did, and I'm happy for her.
For sure. Walter, number 17 for me. I had never seen Walter before WrestleMania weekend in 2018, and he's been a part of some of just the most knockdown, drag out matches that I've ever seen, from everyone from, like, the PCO to the Tyler Bates stuff, Pete Dunne, his UK run with Dragunov, and just last other week with Sheamus. And, like, he's just a big brolic motherfucker that, like, you can put him in the ring with anyone. I believe I saw a match with him and Ishii. I'm not sure. It might be Keith Lee and Ishii I'm thinking of, but Walter has an indie run, like, peppered. I believe he faced Darby Allin before. There's just, like, he's a wrestler that doesn't do a lot of fancy stuff, but, like, he is a mountain, like, of a man. And I don't really know much about Walter outside the ring. I don't really care to, but he's someone that's, like, it's just like, yo, if there's a big match to be had on a show, he's always a threat, and he has a really high percentage of greatness. And like, he might be, I mean, he's way up there as far as the greatest big match wrestlers in WWE history. And, like, he's been doing this shit in NXT UK for the vast majority of it. So 17 for me,
Kairi Hojo, Kairi Sane, I had tons and tons and tons of terrible agendas at the time in 2018 through 2017 through 19. And like when she won the, just the way that she impressed me in the Mae Young Classic the first year in 2017. And like, quite frankly, we were never covering Stardom if not for that. And to see like that this person, this small pirate can just be that, like that, the bell rings and like, it just puts you in this place of like, it's going to be a sprint. It's going to be fast paced. She's going to sell her ass off. You will be in a span of like a 6-7 hour. You can be living and dying and hoping that she wins. And like with that smile and like the endearingness of her being an absolute dork. Like it just all this fed into place and worked. And like, I just thought that she was a star, and like it's unfortunate it didn't work out in WWE the way that like I thought it could have. Like, and obviously, you know, the WrestleMania in Tampa, we couldn't get her on the pirate boat or whatever else. It is what it is. But like, I'm so happy she's in Stardom. I'm so happy that she's able to go out here and have these big showcase matches with the younger generation. And like, you know, I just think like she's just one of the best babyfaces I've ever seen, and like she had to be on this list. Oh, and like as far as the agendas, Shayna Baszler, I was giving her hell in that time when it was when she was basically hoarding the title from like Bianca, Rhea Ripley, Shayna, and Io. Oh my god, I was very unfair to Shayna Baszler. I never said anything disrespectful or anything like that, but like looking back in retrospect, like I wanted her to give off that title for so long. So like Kairi being at the top of that, like she had to be on this list.
Number 16, the boss, Sasha Banks. I think she's the greatest women's wrestler this country's ever produced. I've said that many times on this show.
That's an agenda.
Oh, yeah. Yes. A big one.
It's a truthful, but it's an agenda, nonetheless.
Yeah. She's the one that they should have pushed like the ace instead of Charlotte. She is the Rock of women, possibly, in WWE. I think she's... she has a great reputation as a big match performer. She's someone that's prideful about her work, that they didn't give her a lot. Like and we know how the women's scene works. If you're not the champion, it's hard to really find time for you. And she had to put over a lot of lesser people, for a lot of different reasons. But the crowds at the beginning, they were chanting, "We want Sasha" for a reason. Like that. It was crystal clear in NXT that she was the one. It was crystal clear that she should have been the one. I'm glad that she got to do the main event at WrestleMania. I don't know if her career will continue to be as big as we may have already seen her peak. But wherever she ends up, she comes back. One has to hope that, they actually figure out that she's the one that actually has moved numbers in this company, that a lot of this stuff was built, that she was actually handling it during the pandemic. And I think she's a special wrestler. She's really wrestles a style that normally wouldn't really appeal to me. Like she doesn't like hit the hardest or anything like that. She's technically inclined, but she's not like a super athlete or anything, but she just figures it out. Like she's very crafty, and she has an army willing to go to war for her. I stay clear of most of those people. I would be right there with them, but I think they are on some other shit. So, but I am a huge Sasha Banks fan, always will be, and I hope that she gets valued as a top star that she is at some point in her career.
Okay, so 15?
16.
Oh, 16. 16. The first of the four horsewomen that will be on here, Charlotte Flair. First match I ever saw her was actually the NXT match where she won the NXT title after Paige leaves and gets moved to the main roster. She vacates the belt. They have the match with her and Natalia, and Ric Flair's there, and Bret Hart's there, and I had never seen her before, and that match was so damn good, and like just beyond my expectations of what I thought of women's wrestling at the time, given what I was seeing on the main roster. And like, I was just like, yo, she's young, she's tall, she's blonde, she's got the gun, she's the gun show, all that. Like, she has a smile, and like, she's just, I just saw a dollar sign on her head. Like, she's going to be a star. And obviously we've seen what they've done with her over the years, and she's had ups and downs. I think in the last, and it's probably since like 2020, she's like regressed as a pro wrestler in the ring, bell to bell. But like, if you ask, for consistency's sake, but like, if you ask her, I need you to go out there and go get me 4 stars, she can still do that. But I really want to focus on her 2018 run, where she has the match with Asuka at WrestleMania 34. Literally, like, one of the few like things that actually enjoy and take back and go back and remember fondly from that match. Presentation of undefeated versus like, you know, someone trying to ascend to a legendary, memorable status in Charlotte, and they go out there and they kill it. And like, then from there, like, they handled the Charlotte and Becky thing completely wrong, and they fucked it up. But Charlotte and Becky, through the strength of like just is Becky's like incredible like connection with the fans and her killer promos at the time, and Charlotte just saying like, this shit's going down, it's going down wrong, but like, I'm going to go out here with her, and I'm going to get her over. Like, the one true time, like, you can say a lot of things about Charlotte, you can never take the part where she made Becky by putting her over and over and over and over. Not, maybe it's not her choice, but like, she kept losing her over and over and over, and kept putting over the bigger spot, then the next big spot, and then you get the, you know, you get Charlotte and Becky at Last Woman Standing, and it's just like, just an all-time match for WWE. And like, I'm down on Charlotte right now, but like, I remember how good it was at the beginning, and the Sasha stuff, 2016, the NXT, and the Horseman 4-Way, and all that kind of stuff. And like, she has to make the list. She has to. Just like completely one of the foremost important people as far as my perspective on wrestling right now today is one of her. So she's on there.
Number 15, AJ Styles. AJ Styles was probably, had I been aware of him, he may have been on this list in 2012. Yeah. At that time. I got into watching AJ Styles at the very end of his TNA run, and really like appreciated kind of what he did, but they were doing weird things with him, so it wasn't the same. But seeing him in New Japan Pro Wrestling really opened up my eyes to who he was, and then going back and checking different TNA things, and seeing, you know, just how athletic he was, and the way he put together matches, and his overall just cool factor. He was somebody that I knew would eventually come to WWE, and it only took like him, you know, like, he was like the best guy when I first got in New Japan. I was like, yo, AJ is a fucking dude. And AJ and Nakamura, and those are my two guys. Unfortunately, Nakamura did not make my list, but I thought I'd give him a mention here. But AJ, he was the Bullet Club leader. I started being aware of really what they were doing with AJ at the helm. Leaves, comes into WWE, and just rolls out immediately out of bed. And I'm like, yo, I'm going to be possibly like the greatest wrestler that this company has ever seen on pay-per-view in this calendar year, 2016. And, you know, whether it's 96 Shawn Michaels or him that year, there are other people you can name in WWE, but Styles was so strong in 2016. I would do monthly podcast reviews with Chad and just be happy that I got to talk about AJ Styles and what he did that month on pay-per-view. He obviously got older, and got phased down the more as times went on. But like, when he was like hitting and really maximizing the tail end of his prime, and his before his body like kind of, even then, like, I think his body's still sharp at the moment. It's just he's kind of being asked to do different things now. He's like, I think he's a direct counterpart of Hiroshi Tanahashi, I think, and he's an awesome wrestler. He's a Wrestling Observer Hall of Famer. I would say if we had a One Nation Radio Hall of Famer, he would be in it. Yeah.
Oh, he's on this list. He's on my list.
So yeah, shouts out to AJ Styles.
Number 15 for me, John Cena. Much of the same things that Rich said earlier. When I first got on, I thought this shit was lame. I thought this shit was corny. And, I gravitated towards, the CM Punks and the Daniel Bryans. And I just thought that I felt a lot like the Triple H thing of he's someone gets hot, he works with them, he sends them packing, and he has a new program, he can move on to the next thing. The other person gets bad booking and has to come back in a year or something like that. And at the time I just felt does pro wrestling have to be so everything is on one guy, right? And this is a WWE-ism. They focus on one guy and only make you one guy as opposed to hey man, if you try to build multiple people, then look what you got. Remember that Rock Austin thing? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Maybe if you don't book for one person, you can end up in a situation like that. But like you mentioned, once you see him at first, especially at that time, and you see the promos are always sharp. The promos are always on point. The character stuff and knowing what he stands for is always there with him. The thing for me was just I will see him wrestle and it's yo, this is a uncoordinated motherfucker that is trying hard, but I still see those punches and they're awful. I still see that springboard stunner and it is awful. And over time, you kept seeing him experimenting and he kept seeing the effort he put into trying to be a better wrestler and a more rounded wrestler and a better at the big match. And you saw him, have these TV matches with people from time to time, especially in 2015 when he was a different role. And you see him just he did so much to elevate once it was clear that he was no longer the top guy. And obviously, that's the priority. The whole offense is the Bel Air Academy offense. There might be some plays for Daniel Bryan. There might be some plays for CM Punk. There might be some plays for Randy Orton. But ultimately, it is the Bel Air Academy offense, and he was Will. And once they moved on from that, you start to see that kind of thing go down, and you see him doing all these cool things with people like Kevin Owens, or with, even over the years with Ziggler, or things with Cesaro or Rusev, and you're okay, yeah, I got so much more appreciation for the things he was doing, and the part that you mentioned, he kept trying to be a better wrestler at all times in the ring, even though he had these deficiencies that started out with just as far as his coordination, and then he kept trying to put on the match that people wanted to see with certain people and try to give them that validation and get them in the ring and having a hot match all the time. And for me, he made the list off of that. When we did this 10 years ago, it was never thought in my mind he was going to make this thing. And I'm glad he did. And I quite frankly, I miss him. If he showed up more, I'd be more inclined to watch WWE more. Cause you know what he's going to try to do. So yeah, shout out to John Cena.
Number 14, Shuri. Shuri is on my list of there's Aja Kong and then there's Shuri. When it comes to women's wrestling, her run last year and watching her culminate in that title win, which I think everybody that's listening to this show, a good portion of you have seen that match. Just seeing the style that she fights with, she's got she's got the ring gear, she's got the attitude. I don't speak the language, but I know exactly what she's saying and feeling at any time. She's tough as hell. She's just a demon with the feet. She is just someone that I think she just came out of nowhere. It was she was dropped in this promotion. It was where was she before all these years? And like why did nobody find her until now? Like, and she's like my age. I think she's 33, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, she's 33.
And it's like, I don't know how much longer she's gonna be, in this thing or whatever. But like, you're talking about big matches, championship matches, a rise to the title. She's an alien. Like, she's the highest ranked woman on my list. And you come back, what my idea of like women's wrestling was. I just had no idea 10 years ago. And Shuri is just always someone I get excited to watch whenever I see her. I watched a match with her and Himeka the other day, and it was just like, I fucking like. It kind of extended to Stardom because I was just watching. I forgot what I watched. I think I came off watching maybe the WWE pay-per-view. I'm not sure.
Clash of the Castle.
No. It was Rampage.
Okay, yeah.
I was watching Rampage, and I was watching Claudio and Dax, and I was like, this is all right. Like, whatever. Like, it's not, they're doing classic American wrestling, whatever. But then, like, I was like, I'm still in the mood to watch wrestling. And then I was like, James was like, yo, the 9-4 show, check it out. And then he just suggested main event. And then I just like found myself saying, yo, I fucking love this promotion. It was just flash action. Like, it just and like Shuri's like at the very top of it. Like, I feel like she changed this company. And she's my favorite. Like, there's, like I said, there's Aja Kong and there's Shuri Kondo. So yes, shots out to Shuri.
Yeah, so 14 for me. Kota Ibushi. The first time I saw Kota Ibushi was in semi-main event of Wrestle Kingdom 9, him and Shinsuke Nakamura. And as you mentioned, this is your Nakamura mention right here. Man. But anyway, to see that dude do the things he did in there with Nakamura, and like I had no idea how old he was. Like, like the old like Bill Simmons thing where he used to be like, he used to joke about people's age. He's like, he looks like a Jonas brother. Like, I had no idea, right? No idea. And like to see him like have that match and find out that later, like, he's not actually with the company. He's just a guy that's in here like fucking moonlighting, but he's so good that he bring him in and it's like, yo, who the fuck is this guy? And then like the year after that, you see him in the Cruiserweight Classic and he has those matches and he's fucking incredible. And you see him in there with, with especially with freaking Cedric Alexander. Oh my God. And he's in there also in the final or the semifinal with TJP. But he just
Brian
incredible.
Kendrick as well.
Definitely. Yes. And like Daniel Bryan's like, it puts him into tears. It's like, this man will never wrestle. I mean, he's trying to be right years later. Like, he will never wrestle again in his business. But like, it was just telling these great stories. And like, if he had just signed, he would have won. It was like, I'm so glad he didn't sign to end up here. But like to see like, him in these G1s year after year and always be a consistent MVP threat. And to see him like, finally sign with New Japan and become the champion, even though like the title reign wasn't great, was like, for me, I was happy because like that dude is one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen, regardless of whatever he does on his neck, and he's out of his mind, he's broken his neck and he wants to break it again. He seems like he's helping him trying to break it again. Like, I've seen this dude in New Orleans. I've seen this dude in Daytona. The only time I ever visited this, like, I've ever driven across the state to Daytona in my life was to see him in a exhibition match. It's him, it's Naito and Hiromu versus Omega and him and Golden Lovers. And like, as I mentioned, like the match with Nick Jackson and Matt Jackson, like, dude special. I've seen him in New York. I've flown around parts of this country to see him wrestle. Right? He's one of those people. Like, so he definitely had to be on this list. And he's one of the people that helped change my mind on like wrestling just being Americanized and like all the stuff he's done. Just an incredible wrestler. And I hope this isn't the last we've ever seen of him. Obviously.
Yeah. Number 13.
Yeah.
Hiromu Takahashi. Now, I called Shuri an alien. Hiromu Takahashi is going to be our generation's Jushin Thunder Liger.
Yep.
It was not a coincidence. Liger in his last match was wrestling against Hiromu. This guy is an outlandish personality. He is so smart when it comes to marketing himself, and he goes crazy sometimes with the wear, but he's clearly trying to carve out a unique style and look and presentation for himself. I think some of his work in recent years has gone, he's toned it down a little bit.
Since he's broken his neck?
Yeah, since he's broken his neck, since he's had the pec injury. So he's slowed down just a tiny bit, but like at that guy's peak, he's an absolute mad scientist of a wrestler who is... Like, if you never watched the Dragon Lee and Hiromu Takahashi series, please check it out. If you never watched him and Kushida, please check it out. Especially the 2-minute destruction match. He was one of the most wild, violent, like, dangerous wrestlers that, like, I'm not afraid of. Like, but he would take a risk. He would hurt himself to hurt you. He's, like, imagine like Darby Allin, but like more athletic and like
that's a dream match for me.
Yeah,
him and Darby.
Yeah, like Darby, but more athletic and like more top rope based. And I think he's just like I don't think he'll ever go heavyweight. I mean, he could, but I don't know if he needs to. Like he's someone I remember when he broke his neck. It was such a like a black cloud on the industry itself, because it was like, fuck, this dude was like, he was just heating up to a way, and he's had to take time out the ring, but he's an electric performer. He's a guy that I think is going to be, he's going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out again to capture everyone's imagination. Like I think he's developing the style now that's going to carry him forward.
Yep. 14 for me, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Maybe the GOAT. For me, watching him over these last now at this point, 7 years on and off, I'm always impressed on the part where like it's like the same thing with like you watch a Bret Hart match, you watch a Ric Flair match, you know what you're going to get. Like if he were a pitcher, you know that you're getting the fastball. You know what you're going to get out of him, especially now as he's aged or whatever else. And it doesn't matter. This man always finds a way to, like, with his charisma, with his sense of timing, with his sense of flavor dramatics, always be able to, when the chips are down, almost always he's going to come through and give you something great, or something all time. And like, I've always appreciated the part where like this dude, like with a torn triceps, wrestling on that thing for forever, and getting it done at all times, always getting it done. And like, they're phasing him down. They've been phasing him down since 2020, but like, that 2019 title run, or title win, and him winning the G1 in 2018, like, that was special. And that match with Ibushi was special. And that match with Omega was also special. And like, the feud with my guy, the Okada guy, like, there is no Okada without Tanahashi making him. And like, I'm always appreciative of that. When you get guys that are at the top and they are also making people while still being on top, like that's an underrated quality, because the business isn't built for people to want to do that. Right. So yeah, like just Tanahashi, just the greatest. Maybe he's not the greatest. He's the greatest.
Number 12, Shingo Takagi. Shingo is a slightly built, explosive, like he's a wrestler that I feel like, as old as he is, he's like 39, maybe 40. There's like no athletic slippage, I feel like, from him. He's a power junior that is like seamlessly become a heavyweight, because why not? Like the guys aren't that big at this time. But I feel like Shingo's a guy that blends well with just about anyone. High flyers, power guys, people that want to chop. He's extremely versatile, just like a lot of the people that I have above him on this list. But he's another person that just kind of came into New Japan from Dragon Gate. I didn't really have a lot of exposure to him prior to that, but all I did was keep an open mind on him, and just saw how they protected him as a junior, and the way he hit hard and his explosive moves, and he quickly won me over in that first Super Juniors that he did. And I feel like since then he's just been like after 2019 I was looking for reasons to keep loving New Japan, and Shingo was definitely a big reason, like a key guy that I look to, like, damn, I hope he gets to be the champion one day. I hope he gets the main event at Tokyo Dome, and both of those things happen. He's fucking great, and I hope he gets to get like an American kind of run, like whether he's like the big dream match guy to bring in, something like that, while still remaining with New Japan, obviously. Because I can think of just so many, like, he's the guy that kept New Japan fresh. Him and Will, for me, because if Kenny wasn't there, they're going to need somebody to face Ishii that's new, to face Ibushi, to face Okada, and he was just like that insert that really kept this thing on the track.
Yeah, especially like comparison to like Jay White, where it's like it's so hit or miss with him. Like, either you can love the match, or you can be like, God damn it, it's a great match, but like you wasted like 15 minutes of my time with that bullshit. So for me, 12. I'm gonna do it. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. The Shield. I am putting them here at this moment. Like, I didn't know what to do with them individually. Rollins at one point would have made this list if not for basically what has happened with his career in the kind of like risk he takes in the ring after he tore his ACL. The Reigns thing, I think Reigns has had some incredible matches, and he has risen to be even beyond the things I thought he could have reached. Like, when I thought that like they gave him the ball a year too soon, but like by the time they had got to a year after they went heavy with him, he was already there. It was just like they messed up the presentation, and and the fans are very unforgiving. But the dude since 2016 has been, I don't say rock hard, rock solid. I pretty much any time he's been asked to. Obviously, the path towards the Hill thing, it wears on me at times, but more times than not, these are still matches that are high quality. It's just a matter of taste for me, and for my taste, I've kind of outgrown that kind of style and pacing for pro wrestling at this point. And then Moxley, like, I think Moxley, if I had made this a singles thing, Moxley would have made it just on his own. But like the Shield thing and the way they came in and the way they protected and some of the matches they had, like the stuff with the Wyatts, the match they had at Survivor Series with the New Day, the kind of showcase, like the New Day is like, maybe the Shield's the greatest three-person stable ever. Like New Day is like number 2. Like, let's acknowledge this in real time. Like, I just think I think they were great. I think the way they protected, and like the idea of like, we're going to try and launch 3 guys and they all become, main eventers, was a big thing. And like, when things were ever going bad for any of them, it was always like, send one of them out there with the other one and trying to help hold them afloat or save it or whatever else. Like, whether it was all the times it was Moxley saving their asses, but you get my point. Like Moxley and Rollins, Moxley and Reigns, it was always just like compelling, because you knew like they had that run where they were just untouchable for like, about a year to about close to 2 years, and then like it was always a blast seeing them in there mixing up with various forms of like Danielson, or wrestling even like the Usos, or wrestling some tag team, some makeshift babyface tag team with John Cena. Like, they were a blast, and like, never say never. Whatever, but like I would really love for them like to have some like some sit down thing and talk about the good old days, whatever else, and I could pay pay-per-view prices to watch it. I really would enjoy it. Like the way that like John Moxley in his book talked about Roman Reigns is like that's true friendship. Like beyond the pro wrestling thing, whatever else, like the admiration those three all have for each other. Like I appreciate it. So the Shield had to make it.
Number 11, Jon Moxley. What timing? We're not aware of each other's list. So Jon Moxley himself, I was having a conversation with James the other week where I was talking about, I think if I voted him, if I had a Hall of Fame vote, I would probably be comfortable giving him the vote next year. And I think he's someone that works very hard, and there are a lot of wrestlers that work hard, but it bleeds through him, literally. And it's like, he's not the most, he's kind of like Cena in a sense. Like, he's not the most naturally gifted person, but there's a whole lot of there's a whole lot of give a fuck there. And he's a microphone presence that is one of a kind. People have compared him to Austin and Terry Funk. I think he stands on his own at this point. He is someone that loves like wrestling, and he'll show up to the shit worst indie right now, and like why are you here, bro? Like, and like, it's just for his love of the game, and it's like he doesn't have to do a lot of stuff. He could easily coast on being someone that was in WWE for a long time, that had multiple $1 million years for them, and just coast on that reputation. And he refused to do that, and I respect it a lot. And he's like completely like reinvented himself, because it looked like he quit kind of in real time. It was like, it felt like he quit on screen for
he mentions that as such in his book, yep. Where he's like, I was done. Like, I was checked out. Like, my heel turn with the shit, and then he was just done. Yeah.
And throughout, like, the years on the show, I felt like we were fair to him in calling those performances in real time, where it was like, yo, this isn't right. This isn't like this is going wrong. This is not how this shit should have went. This is not how it should be done. His effort level dropped. We called it. We spotted it, and we knew the guy that was in there, based on what happened before that and what's happened since. Yep. And he's someone that is, when I start thinking about this stuff and I start sitting down, I'm just like, yo, I have so many positive, great memories of this guy. Like, the first ever AEW show, he fucking comes through the crowd. And then like, he like, that the original feud with him and Kenny was just breaking like ticket sale records. Like, people wanted to see them run it so bad at different times. He's proved himself just to be this these things that's like, I'm not even gonna get in the trash into a different guy, but he's a part of two great factions with Shield and now the Black Combat Club. He will wrestle. He has a great appreciation for Japanese wrestling, which is really cool. And he has these relationships with people like Eddie Kingston, and then just seeing like what he's meant to AEW. Like, Moxley made this list. Like, I don't know if he would have made my top 10, but he was number 11. So I was going to 20. He made it comfortably in this.
Yeah.
Wild thing.
Yeah, like, I mean, the G1 run, just like, what is he doing in G1? And then he does it, and he, like, by the Ishii match, he's like, yo, this match is fucking awesome. Like, but yeah, number 11 for me, Sasha Banks. Number 3 of the 4 horsewomen on my list. Sasha is everything I want to see out of a performer in WWE. Like, somebody that gives off star presence, somebody that the fans, have the feeling of that is a star, someone that dresses the part at all times, somebody that cares. And like, not only cares, but like cares and also says like, I'm not going to and be ballsy about it. It was like the thing of like, look, I'm great. I'm here to have a great match, or the best match I could possibly have. I don't give a damn who it is. If we do botch it, and have the confidence where like, if something gets fucked up, I don't care. I'm so dope that like, if the shit gets fucked up, people aren't going to be like, damn, that Sasha Banks match sucked. I've had so many of these. They'll be like, damn, that match you had with her that night sucked. You still great. She better get her shit together because this match is bad. Like, she gives off that. And like, I've always, and her feud with Bayley is like a keystone moment for me. in the run of One Nation Radio, and like she's just the best once the bell rings from America, from women's perspective. She's the best I've ever seen from that perspective. And like, I hope she comes back, much like we talk about Kota Ibushi. I hope she comes back. I don't know where, don't know when, but like whenever she shows up, I'll be happy. Like I remember when she came back after her hiatus after WrestleMania 35. And like we were in the middle of the show and I had Raw on. It was funny. Like if you can find the audio, like when she showed up, like in the middle of all of a sudden I yell out, I scream, "Oh, Sasha!" And we stopped the show mid-record. This is before we were doing live streams. But like we stopped the show mid-record so I could see what the hell what she was doing. And she came out there, she attacked Natalya, and she took off the fuchsia color hair that she normally had, the wig off, and then had the blue underneath. And like that's what I want. Someone that could give me that kind of reaction or that kind of like emotion out of me after like not seeing them for a while, because I've missed them. And like one of the things that not watching WWE or downcycling is like missing her in that moment, and or those moments of like she's in a big match and like Vince seemingly like there's like something I do not want to watch at all, and like she would go out there and trot out an Asuka, a Bayley, or a Horsewoman, and like, or especially Sasha, and I'm just like, God damn it. You've done it again. Like you put out a Asuka and Sasha match on Raw randomly for no reason. You got me for however long it goes, or like the MSG Horsewoman tag match, like stuff like that. Like she deserves worthy of a spot on the list. Could have probably even been higher if not for the Stardom stuff that like completely changed. Like, but part of that is her legacy. Like, we never cover Stardom if not for her and Asuka and the rest of the Horsewomen. And then you get the EO and Kyrie stuff to get us to say, like, we like women's wrestling. Like, there's better women's wrestling out there. Like, we just got to go find it, and we found it. So, shout out to Sasha.
Number 10, Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay, when it's all said and done, might have the most ridiculous match catalog there is in the history of wrestling by that point. There are a lot of people that are taking shots at him because he's taking his lumps right now in real time, because people are freaking out because they don't know how to process greatness. He originally inspired that rant that I went on, but he's just like someone that is like RLPW personified. He's a tough motherfucker. He chops hard. He does flips, lots of them, in an insane level, and is flashy. He is thoughtful in his matches. Lots
gives
of
and takes punishment, and people don't act like that's not the case. He's just a flippy dude that does soft wrestling.
Yeah, like he's like someone that really, we talk about people that give a fuck. He really gives a fuck. Like, and I don't think he's even 30 years old yet. He's just like since 2019, I think he's just been just the most talented guy there is. Just like an embarrassment of riches, like, match quality wise. And, I talked about Shingo and the effect he had in keeping New Japan fresh. Well, Will's the other side of that coin. When you program Will in at the top, like I've told people, it's not Jay, it's Will. That's the guy like that replaces Kenny Omega here. And I was definitely looking for somebody to do that. And he's going from being a junior heavyweight that was just out of this world to now being a heavyweight wrestler and still being light years ahead of the heavyweights now, like for whatever he's gained.
Tired of long waits and rushed care at the ER and urgent care clinic? Next time, stay home and let Dispatch Health bring the power of the hospital to you.
I call Dispatch Health. A care team of medical professionals actually come to your house.
They're the same caliber of people that you would see if you were at a hospital or an urgent care.
Dispatch Health can treat most non-life-threatening emergencies.
They can do the x-rays, they can do stitches,
urinary tract infections, blood test, urinalysis, ultrasound.
It's almost everything that they can do at the ER.
You never feel rushed. They're there for you and only you.
I felt like their only patient.
And it costs no more than a trip to urgent care because Dispatch Health is covered by most insurance, including Medicare. See if we serve your home at dispatchhealth.com.
Dispatch Health really went above and beyond.
It's wonderful to have care come to your home.
House calls are back, and they're better than ever. Learn more at dispatchhealth.com.
Hey, it's me, your Uncle Cooper. Sorry to interrupt your music. I do love music, especially when it's set at a reasonable volume. You know, music is really only as good as your speakers. The same is true for minivans. A minivan is only as good as the tires it sits on. And the button on the screen there, it agrees with me. If you click on it, it'll bring you to all the Cooper minivan tires that'll make your minivan a really good minivan. Go with the Coopers! Cooper!
In mass, and he's basically been just this phenom, like someone that's going to end up higher on this list. And I feel like this is a dopey ranking, putting him there in the middle at number 10. It's like this guy could end up as high as it gets by the time it's said and done. He's a phenom. Like, Undertaker, give the nickname away.
Number 10 for me, Becky Lynch. When I first saw all the Horsewomen, I liked her, but she was my least favorite of the four at the time in NXT, especially 2015. Loved her match that she had with when she challenged Sasha for the belt. Great match. And she makes it with Sasha and Charlotte to the main roster at the same time, and it's not going great, right? They didn't really want them to wrestle each other because they're not established stars yet, and they're worried about the ratings, so they put them in there with in the weird Team Bad and Team Bella and Paige with Charlotte and Becky, and Becky is because she is not some statuesque blonde woman, and she's not this gorgeous woman with fuchsia hair. She was overlooked at the time. They just didn't see star potential in her. They knew she was talented or whatever else, and they knew that she had the following with the Horsewoman for the diehards, the people that was going to rock with her. That when it comes to these pay-per-views or whatever else, and to see that they end up going from that summer to the thing that tips off for WrestleMania 32 to make it click and work for Charlotte and for Sasha is to have the Charlotte heel turn thing, and she turns on Becky, and that is the pathos to make it work. And then they have the match, and the match is great. And then, they do the brand split for SmackDown later in the year, and Becky's the inaugural SmackDown Women's Champion. And then they did the thing with get it on Alexa Bliss or whatever else. And then she was kind of just floating around in obscurity for a while, just trying to find things and doing the pun stuff or whatever else. And mixed match challenge with Sami Zayn just to stay afloat. And she just kept, everyone likes her. Everyone says all these things about she works hard. She's likable, all this stuff. Inherent likableness. And at the time when it's WWE and Vince is very bad at building baby faces and doesn't understand people that are inherently likable should be the people you try to push if they have the requisite talent. And then all it takes is she gets a random fluke 8-win or 6 to 8 win streak on TV, and people are they're building her. And they consciously weren't. And then it happens with SummerSlam, and they turned her heel, and people were furious. And they built off there, realizing the mistake. They built on all right, we're going to continue putting her in there with Charlotte, and Charlotte keeps getting the boo birds out of the heavens, and Becky keeps eating her up and whooping her ass and putting her in the jump zone every single fucking week, and she getting more over and more over and more over and more over, and these matches keep getting better and better and better, more memorable. And then she wins the championship the next pay-per-view, has the last woman standing match, and basically she's the first person to ever win a feud against Charlotte Flair, and then she basically go face to face the next day. Or later or after the show with Ronda, you're oh shit, they're doing that at Survivor Series. And then you get the bloody face thing, and she basically became legendary that night. And the run to the man thing was botched, all that kind of stuff. We chronicled it, going past that, but she won it in or whatever else. And then she was around, and then she had the feud with Sasha that was great. And then she goes to the pandemic and you find out she's pregnant, she leaves and she comes back and she's so much even of a person I already thought highly of her in the ring anyway when it came to a big match setting. Has become just like can't miss great match no matter what any point in the big match now since she's came back. And like I'm so glad that like, you know, this woman like gave birth months ago and like she's just back and better than ever. And like I just really appreciate the grind that she went through and like the perseverance to go through all that stuff to be like I'm around all these other stars, but I'm a star too, and I'm going to show you over time. And then like ultimately she ends up burning brighter than all of them. And like that was just a great time in for WWE it was a bleak time, but like it was basically her on SmackDown with Charlotte Flair and AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan that are holding up an armrest on they're just carrying it. Otherwise the shit would have cratered. And like I'll never forget it for that. And like she was just great. Still is great. And I hope she gets healthy and comes back and she's kicking ass again soon.
Number 9, CM Punk. Man, those early years coming back from wrestling, I'm very open about being back because of The Rock. But the reason I stayed was CM Punk. Just talking about somebody that 8 innings with promos in WWE, that was someone that was like putting out top quality at the time where top quality was not, that shit was not happening like it is now on a weekly basis. Like that shit was a way different world back in like 2012, 2013, 2014. Like your CM Punks were rare glimpses into like, you know, what else is out there. But I thought he connected with the audience. Like I think he was the guy that people were just calling for at the time. But you know, there was John Cena there. Like you're just never going to be over Cena no matter what. They made him the champion, but it wasn't quite the championship reign that anyone wanted. When you talk about his 2013, when he had to lose all the part-timers, that like CM Punk is like there are a couple of guys that are responsible for WWE's relationship with a lot of pro wrestling fans. I think CM Punk is one, Bryan Danielson's another, Roman Reigns is another, and John Cena's kind of another in the last, 10 to 15 years in WWE, right? Like it was like the indie mega powers and the WWE mega powers. Like and that's just kind of who they were and what they were at the time. And of course, like he came back. I think he brought a lot to AEW originally. And even, going forward still, obviously there's an awkward period right now because he's kind of persona non grata. He lost his goddamn mind at that press conference the other week. I've had kind of a week to think about this, and perhaps I overreacted because I wasn't thinking about like the history of wrestling, right? Where it was like there would never be a push for people to be fired at any point in the history of wrestling, like for a backstage fight. Like, and I completely overreacted last week. And I think, while I don't think he's at the level of the top guy of today in the ring, he's still a compelling talker. He's someone that gets people going. And he's like, he's fighting off Father Time in his own way because he took all those years off, but no one ever forgot him. I think in order to go forward, he does need to adapt to like the modern landscape. And I think the more he resists that, he'll have trouble. But for what he was in 2012 and when we were starting this show, like he was a revelation in WWE, and it sucked the way he went out. And they were doing lawsuits against him and a lot of different things like that. But like,
which still holds weight till today. Still ripple effects from today.
Yes. So Punk is he's a dynamic. He's a cult of personality, some may say, and he's someone that really riles wrestling fans up. And he creates strange bedfellows when it comes to agendas and everything like that. And it's, I've seen there have been a lot of AEW fans I think that were kind of upset with him, but standing with them were your hardcore WWE fans that thought at this time, this is the time to puff our chests out about Vince McMahon in the way he hurt Roman Reigns and all like that. This was all a relitigation on him. So if you don't understand CM Punk, if you only have watched him this last year, it's been more than this. Like it has been. It's a lot more and maybe you don't get it as far as why people care a lot with him. Because I remember when I first started watching CM Punk, I was like, I don't get it. He's just this generalist. And then because I was looking at it what's their fighting style and what's all this stuff and I was like, well, what does he do? He's not really a high flyer. He's not really a great technical wrestler. He's kind of sloppy. He doesn't throw great punches or anything, but he once you just buy into him, and he's great at making people buy into him, I think, and that's why he's on this list.
So this is the end of the tier of the people that were never at any point in the last 10 years someone that I was like, oh, light bulb, this is my favorite wrestler. So this is the best of the best. Number 9, Kenneth Omega. Man. This fucking guy is one of the very best wrestlers I've ever seen. And when I say best wrestlers I've ever seen in the ring, I'm talking about, we're talking about, top 3, top 2. If I had to go in my mind of saying, the best pro wrestling matches I've ever seen, he might be in all of the top 4.
I have a match list on this, and it's disgusting.
Yo, I mean, I can't remember. At a certain point, I remember saying this on the show, Okada Omega 1, up to that point, was the greatest wrestling match I ever saw. Okada Omega 4, up to that point, was the greatest pro wrestling match I ever saw. Still is, right? And in the middle of that, you also had the Omega and Naito G1 final from 2017 that Naito won, and I was like, I think that's the best non-Okada Omega match I've ever seen in my life. So he has 3 of the. If I were to write it out or whatever, think about it or whatever else, he probably is in at least 3 of the 4 best matches I've ever seen in my life. The dude's an incredibly thoughtful performer and giving performer. And the ways that I don't think people think of pro wrestling, the way he does his storytelling is different from what I think of traditional pro wrestling storytelling of you sell you the crux of your tension pops up in the match, obviously, but also talking about those vulnerable, insecure moments or moments of doubt in the middle of a match or moments of desperation in a match, are quite frankly for me unparalleled for this dude. And I've been watching him do this at this point at that high of a level from 2017 to 2018, and I was like, this dude is incredible. And then to see him move in format that in what he does when he was doing it in that realm of it is a fake fight, but we are presenting this around the world of sport. Into now we are in North American professional wrestling, and the way that he has done this, to continue to carry programs and feuds and story beats has quite frankly been impressive, especially when I thought at the first 3 months of it, I thought he was fucking horrible or sandbagging. I was like, what is going on? And then once the dude got into the thing with Hangman, then it all started to make some sense to me, and then it kept going, and then then he turns the wide edge up once he divorces from Paige, and he's just the best despicable heel, or one of them, and to see him have those matches on TV, maybe his pay-per-view stuff at the time wasn't that big of a box office type of thing as far as the marquee match. But his TV stuff was just incredible. The stuff with Jungle Boy, the stuff with Phoenix, just incredible. And I'm so glad that I ever saw this dude wrestle.
So number 8, Kazuchika Okada. It's fitting they're kind of like mirrors in this. Like Kazuchika Okada is like I talked about Walter being that mountain earlier in this list. Like if he's a mountain, like I don't know what's bigger than a mountain, but it's Okada because like he's the measuring stick that everyone else figures themselves out against. Like you want to figure out how great you are, you fight Kazuchika Okada, Will Ospreay. You fight Kazuchika Okada, Hiroshi Tanahashi. You fight Kazuchika Okada, Kenny Omega. You fight Kazuchika Okada, Kota Ibushi. You fight Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, and so on. Like for him to be handed the keys to the kingdom at 25 years old, a month back into his call in from Excursion, they knew faster than anyone did. They knew that this was going to be the guy that is going to carry this thing forward while Hiroshi Tanahashi's in his 30s. This is the guy they picked. This is the guy that delivers in G1s and Wrestle Kingdoms. Like you talk about somebody owning the Tokyo Dome, like they need to put a photo or they need to carve his face into the side of the building. However you want to do that. When he came to America this year, it was just everyone knew who he was. He's headlined Madison Square Garden. He is like he's not the person you root for, right? When you see this stuff, and he's still like I think pulls respect out of anybody that watches him because of the way he puts the matches together. It's like the New Japan house style, the finishing sequences, like has become a staple of this time. Talked about the amount of matches that Will Ospreay has. Okada's right there with him. He did at such a young age. You wonder how far he's going to continue like to go going forward. But talk about the best championship reigns. Like it's like Kenta Kobashi and Kazuchika Okada. And he's like it meant so much to me that Kenny Omega was able to beat him. And the reason that it was is because it was Okada. Like, I don't think there will ever be a better win in wrestling than Kenny beating that guy for the championship. Like, I don't know like who exists to make it feel like that but Okada. And it's like when Kobashi dropped the title, it wasn't to set up like this. It wasn't this all-time thing to set up like this next guy that was like the greatest match I've ever seen and things like that. He's what he did with Tanahashi, he has he's a stoic guy. He's the modern Inoki, I think. And he's wearing that damn he's wearing the gi like him this year, the robe this year, and it's just like however long this guy's around, he's gonna be able to be great forever because like he's not like everyone else takes the risk against him. Like he's gonna be able to be great forever. Like Rick Ross said, "Rich forever." Kazuchika Okada, great forever. Like, and from the time he was young to the time he gets old, like it'll be like he can figure out any style of wrestling instantly. The only thing he didn't really quite figure out was the money clip, how to implement that.
The money clip's gotten better. The money clip's gotten better.
But as far as instantly, he's a phenomenon. Just a king of the king of sports. The king is right there.
Number 8 for me, like everybody that from 8 to 1 at this point has at some point been my favorite wrestler over the ONR years. Number 8, AJ Styles. Man, like it was a bleak and rough time. Like once Daniel Bryan retired and I had was basically put off TV and then eventually had to retire. But now it was just like, I don't have an outlet of a person that is my guy that like, there's a match on and I can't wait to see it this week on SmackDown or Raw or what have you. And see this person go to work in the way that it was with Danielson. And then he shows up, and like I had already seen I'd heard about him when we were covering starting ONR, especially when you were covering or you were watching TNA and Aces and Ace and all that shit. But like I'd heard the name. You heard the reputation, all that kind of stuff, and like this dude is so great, but like he'll never get into WWE and all that kind of stuff. And then he goes to New Japan, and like, the match he had with Nakamura that was my first time ever seeing him wrestle. And I was like, yo, this match is incredible. This dude's fucking great. And then the next thing you know is like 2 days, like a week later or whatever, you hear like word come out like, oh, him and Nakamura are coming to WWE. What? And then he shows up at the Rumble. And, people had their talk of his TNA and it's so small time, and he comes out with music that people had never heard before, and the great camera from Kevin Dunn, they missed the spot of going up there and saying, I am phenomenal, but whatever, we'll never get that back. Same thing with Edge's return, but whatever. He comes out, the crowd loses shit. He's in Orlando, it's TNA country. They're losing his shit. He comes out there and he mixes it up, and then he's in there with Jericho, and then he's in there with Roman, and that, quite frankly, that's still my favorite singles Roman feud. And then he gets to Cena, and like they had gave him guy after guy after guy to go out there and do it with, and he was having great matches left and right. And then he goes out there with Cena, he beats Cena, and like he basically just shows up on SmackDown when they start the brand split back up, and he's just fucking on everybody's neck, just killing it every single week. Like I remember, during like the build towards Ambrose and AJ Styles, like they're doing a match with him and Ziggler, of AJ Styles and Ziggler, and they have Ambrose on commentary, and Ambrose is like incredulously laughing at like the kickouts and the things they're doing in this match with Dolph fucking Ziggler. He's like, yo, they're just tearing it down. And that was like the kind of thing you were getting from him, like basically like every other week on TV and on pay-per-view. And like, it's like the dude was just like consistently 4 stars, 4.25, just a great wrestler. And like, as you mentioned, like he was like that for like a year and a half, like year and a quarter, year and a half. And then you start seeing like ups and downs, ebbs and flows or whatever else after he took his foot off the gas and the age or whatever else. And then you find out like that year where he started taking his foot off the gas, like he's wrestling with a torn hamstring the whole time. Like the dude was just incredible. And like and he answered every doubt the same way that like a CM Punk answered every doubt being on that particular stage. Same thing with Danielson. And like that made me appreciate like that short period of time where he's like, this dude is like the best in-ring performer I've ever seen in main roster WWE. And like that year, like he literally lifted the tide of all boats in match quality that year in WWE main roster, where it's like you got Roman Reigns having like multiple 4-star matches, you got Kevin Owens having multiple 4-star matches, you have Ambrose having multiple 4-star matches, and all this kind of stuff. And this is like at a time where it's like we just lost Danielson, like we have Cena coming and going at the time, and it was a weird time, but like that dude was like, it's fine. I'm going to have great feuds. I'm going to have great matches, and just like, I'm not the guy, but I'm just going to try so hard that like, just through like force of personality and will, like I'm going to get myself to where like, I'm in a rock's throw of being like a merch seller on the level of Roman Reigns by the beginning of, or by spring of 2018, where like, it's that close where like Roman's barely number 1, and he's and AJ's doing it on the B show. Like the dude was just incredible. And I'll never forget him.
Number 7, Tomohiro Ishii. Man, I like, since I was a big Shawn Michaels fan, I learned how to look at wrestling through losing in sometimes, like, and watching like what people do in losses that really resonate with me. And there's no one that's left on my list that has lost more big time matches than Tomohiro Ishii. His role is not to win. His role is to go out there and fight and to leave everything he has in the ring. And every year I know he's not going anywhere. I know he's not going to the Dome. Even though I would drum up the agenda like it needs to be Tomohiro Ishii's time all the time, just to drive it home on what a special wrestler this is. The ultimate sprint wrestler, the kicking out at 1, the no selling, the fighting spirit, And then I learned, from Josh, he's like this through the line of like Ricky Choshu and the way Choshu affected wrestling in Japan in the 80s, like when they were just taking forever to do everything. The matches were long and drawn out. He was this shock to the system. These short, explosive matches, and Ishii was similar in that respect to what Choshu is in these days. But he wasn't ever like a top guy or anything. But he's also an ultimate, like he's a plug and play guy like Shingo. Any wrestler there is the Ishii match everyone can have because it's not like all that complicated, but what he does, he's a master of subverting expectations.
Yes.
He is just
underrated footwork.
Great footwork, great all-time seller. And I think translated in a lot of ways, like, we always heard like why Japanese wrestlers wouldn't translate to America or American fans, and a lot of that stuff ended up to be bullshit. Like once I got to watch a lot of Japanese wrestlers, but like he's someone that would have cut through that bullshit analysis because he comes to America, he goes to the UK, he's a god. Everybody loves him. I got to meet him in 2018. That was really cool. And Ishii, like, he's never going to win, but he doesn't need to. Just imagine if he won.
Imagine.
Yeah.
Number 7 for me, Bailey. Man, y'all don't know. For some of y'all might know, but for most of y'all do not know. People that are listening, people that are still watching on the stream, y'all do not know the level of fan I was for this underdog babyface dork with her indie gear on. I just thought that it was so earnest of like she is like comes in from wherever she came from, obviously place like Shimmer, for example. Like she comes in and like she is like almost like the childlike / like a kid from a small town that goes to the big city, is amongst the stars and is starstruck. But she believes in herself, and then like she has a couple of bad run-ins with and gets taken advantage of in the new city, and like from that point on she just keeps continuing to grow and grow. Like, you left your bag in your car when you parked it. Well, you show up and all of a sudden like, oh, that window smashed. That window smashed and that bag's took. Like to see her like
gave her phone number out a couple times to the wrong people.
I'm going to move on from that. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into that. That don't sound like Drake lyrics. but like to overcome like those things that you stumble and you fall and you grow, and then she like gets her moment I almost said Wrestle Kingdom at Brooklyn, NXT Brooklyn, and like has that all-time match and like with Sasha, and then like so inspired me that it was like I've never been to NXT or the PC or whatever, or at Full Sail time, and we're like, and then during the rematch I was like, hey Rich, we gotta go. And like let's tell you like what it was at that time. It was like I had told 2 times this happened. Like they have NXT house shows all throughout this area. Like, people talk about like the Largo Loop. Like they have them in Mineral Hall in Largo. They would have them in Tampa, close to University of South Florida's campus. And like we would kind of go regular. It's not necessarily regular, but we would go pretty often. And at a certain time, I had put my foot down. Nasty agenda. I am not giving NXT another bit of my $5 or $10, whatever the hell them cheap ass tickets were, to see these house show loops until Bailey wins this fucking belt. Like I had enough. Like I was fed up. And by that point in time, she won, and like first house show, I'm there. That's all I wanted to see was Bailey with the fucking belt. And like, to see like her as a champion and like her surviving like, like almost like the Ric Flair Vader thing with her and Nia Jax, at a time. And then like she puts over Asuka on the way out. And like we didn't know what the hell that was, as far as like she just got her ass handed to her. She just like
killed.
Asuka just shut off her water, but it's like she went on her sword to a better champion, one of the all-time great NXT champions ever in Asuka. And Bayley was a great champion too, but like I lost my train of thought, but I get back to it. Like that point, like to see that rematch, the Iron Woman match, like those tickets for Full Sail will always just be sold out in a snap, and people will like, you go to a taping, you can line up and get the next set of tickets. So you always see the same people in those crowds, right? And like me and Rich like found a pair of tickets to NXT. Was it? I can't remember the name of the takeover, but it had the end. It had the the end. It had the finals. It also had the finals of the first ever Dusty Cup.
It was something else.
Okay,
I don't remember.
Yeah, so me and Rich found a pair of tickets, but they were in fucking Orlando. We live 120 miles away from Orlando. I drove the day before that show to Orlando to get those physical tickets, drive the fuck back, then the next day go get Rich, and then drive out back all the way to Orlando. And keep in mind, it's not necessarily Orlando, it's Winter Park, which is on the other side of Orlando. To go to that show, sit in line in that hot fucking sun for hours to see that Iron Woman match and then see that match and be totally satisfied. And like, I would have done it, and knowing what I know now and how it worked out, all that kind of stuff, I would have done it 100 times over again. That's how much I enjoyed like that whole experience. And like she was just awesome. And like, she got to the main roster and she's had a number of great matches and everything. I'm cool on her now as far as like where the character is, because it's not anything like what it was. And obviously they bungled, with the This Is Your Life thing, whatever else. But like, when she first came up, she felt like the biggest deal and like a chance to be like the female John Cena. And like, she's one of those lotto tickets or things of hope when she came in. Like, when she came in there to tag with Sasha, she just felt a big deal when she was doing like the collab thing when she was hanging out with New Day. It just felt like, look at these fucking great likable baby faces hanging out with each other, having a good time. Like, she just gave me like the Phil Joy and good of pro wrestling that you at times do not get. And like, I get that out of Stardom now, quite frankly. Yeah, but yeah, like Bayley's definitely way high on this list. But yeah, had to have made it.
Number 6, Kota Ibushi. Possibly the most versatile wrestler to ever live. I think he, at his peak athletically, is possibly the greatest high flyer I've ever seen. Shouts to Ricochet and Will Ospreay as well. But, also Ricochet, another person that could have made this list under the right circumstances.
Yep.
But Ibushi, with the MMA practicing, the kicks, the flips, this man was born to be a RLPWer. He was born to wrestle. He's self-trained. He's an absolute loon, which helps because like no one quite ever knows what Kota Ibushi is thinking. He may set up, a triangle ring federation. He may take bumps on the asphalt. He may give you one of the greatest matches you've ever seen in your life. Obviously, like he's like
stand on top of a car and fire Roman candles into his chest for funsies.
Yes, like there was like I got introduced to Ibushi the same as James did against Shinsuke Nakamura, and I love Nakamura. I came out of like it watching Nakamura, but the guy whose archive I wanted to dig into was Ibushi's, because I was like, yo, he has that. When I saw the Golden Triangle for the first time, I was just befuddled, dumbfounded. Right. I was just like, people do this? What? Right. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, that's like, these guys are like super fucking athletic out here doing this shit. And then, no, just him. Like, Tetsuya Naito wasn't flipping like this. Like, so like, I watched his junior stuff, learned about his career, learned he had this tag team with Kenny Omega back in the day. He had a couple weird periods of his career, like the Tiger Mask W stuff, his excursion to WWE, which, we enjoyed the Cruiserweight Classic. And the cool thing was that he didn't sign and he came right back to New Japan to be a part of that golden era, the golden age that happened. And every time I watched Kota Ibushi, I didn't know what it was going to be, but it could be like this match with Taichi where he just fucking decides to kick the whole time. It could be him and Tomohiro Ishii just like in a amazing 16-minute sprint. I did a word-for-word recap of I've never done that for any other match in the history of One Nation Radio. I wrote every single thing that happened and then shared it in audio form. It was incredible. G1 2018, if you haven't seen that match. So violent. And I, too, was very happy when he got to win the IWGP Championship. I wasn't thrilled with some of the booking that was around him, and I think people I'm trying to think of the word, infantilize him. Like, they treat him like he's a baby instead of a grown adult. He's like, just from an athletic standpoint, he's just a picture-perfect pro wrestler. I can't imagine like having this list and not having a Bushi on it, and just like there's one more Japanese wrestler that's higher than him on this list for me, and I look at Ibushi and he's just like, they all do different things well. Like the great Japanese wrestlers of this era, like Tanahashi or Okada or Naito or Ibushi, like, and he's the heir, you know. He's for me, when I think of Ibushi, I think of the aerial theatrics, the fighting spirit, and just the just always unexpected from what he's gonna bring to the table.
Number 6 for me, Tam Nakano. If we start going down this list, you will start noticing, like, I like a good underdog babyface, and man, like, starting out from watching her get a title shot against Momo Watanabe, and like setting her dream and her focus on like singles after like she couldn't like get this tag thing going with Mayu after she wanted it so bad. It's never happened. As just a two-person tag team, and then she has the match and it's very good, and like I'm like, okay, so like they're clearly setting this up as like she's going to eventually win this thing. And like over the time, the storyline of like, you know, somebody else got in the way of her and Mayu's tag team of Arisa Hoshiki coming in, and then like Arisa wins the white belt, steals her dream, and like she is like, I can't, like, I keep trying to do things and achieve things, and like it keeps getting taken from me, and I fail, and like she reaches a breaking point of like just disrespect and childish behavior with Hoshiki, and like Hoshiki is like a bit of like airhead, and so she doesn't understand like this woman wants no parts of her, but like they're in the same faction, so they're like coexisting, and like Tam seems like she wants to like find ways to like throw her off a moving train or a bus. But whatever. So Tam rebuilds and they end up getting to the match, and like the match is, from an emotional standpoint, like just blows me away of like the level of just like you can all the stuff that they built gets thrown into the match of like seeing the emotions of like jealousy and like inferiority complexes and all that kind of stuff, and like from Tam's perspective, and then like Arisa Hoshiki's perspective, like, I really actually enjoy you and like you. I want you to love me. I will beat you until you love me. Like come out in that match, and like then after that they become like, all right, here's the deal. We're gonna become a tag team. Like literally, like in the after match promos, like we're gonna become a tag team, and like the promise is don't you dare lose that belt to anyone else. And Hoshiki's like, I'll hold on to it till next time you want it. The next time you want a shot for it. And like, obviously Hoshiki's retirement and everything threw that wrench into that. But like, after that, like she rebuilds and goes in that incredible feud of just like two people that like are hell bent on like, maybe they're not the best athletes in the world or the most smooth like technicians, but like they are just driven to an extent that I don't think I've ever seen two other wrestlers to like put on great performances in big matches between Julia and Tam, and the things they're willing to do in matches to get a match over. and also make their people that are wrestling like in the big matches also like look great too. Like to put them two together, like two people that are like Michael Jordan-ly maniacally driven to do that, and they have those matches, and like Tam ends up becoming a bigger star. Julia becomes a bigger star. They're like lifetime rivals at this point, and Tam eventually takes the belt off of Julia, and Tam has her white belt run of that's built on literally like, well, Tam, like you were just the best at having these feuds with everybody for the white belt. Like we couldn't find anybody else to actually build a division around, and then Tam's like, no problem, I'll make a new division out of all my challengers. And then you look around and you see like Kamatani and Kid and Natsupoi, and like they're going to be the next white belt champions. Kamatani already is the next white belt champion. Like she's for me, she's the most important person for the white belt ever. In my opinion, right? Like, obviously people will be like, no, use upon because she can't start the promotion without her. But like outside of that, it's her. And like to see like where she is from the start off is like the learning more about the promotion. Like before I started watching, I found like she came in and she's like a comedy manager for the bad guys, and now like she's a leader of women of like her own faction. Like the incredible like arc of maturation and growth over like from 2017 to now is like incredible. And now like she's on top of the world. She's recently like she's at worst like number 2 biggest star in the company. She seems one of these days she might win the red belt. She might not. She might retire or whatever else. Who knows? But like this run that she's been on, like narrative wise and like program building wise and long form storytelling is like some of the best stuff I've ever seen from anyone from anywhere. And like, I'm so happy that like I happened to like have started watching a couple weeks before all of this stuff kind of started, for her. And like, she gets better in the ring every single year. It's amazing. Like she used to stink, like flat out suck. And now she's one of the best wrestlers in the world. Like it's been very, rewarding, watching her growth over the years. So yeah, she's number 6 for me.
Number 5, the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. I talked about Okada being New Japan, but before that, Hiroshi Tanahashi is New Japan. He saved New Japan. There's a rant that comes from this show when Tanahashi won the G1. There's one of 2 rants that exist that are out there, and I was so happy for Tanahashi. You talk about somebody fighting off Father Time, being tough forever, being the ultimate old school guy, just finding ways to be current, to push his greatness, to really max out his ability. And he didn't have it easy. He had the whole stabbing incident in the beginning of his career. He came to prominence like at the tail end of like Inokiism that damn near killed the company, and he just rebuilds New Japan in his image. I got to meet Tanahashi once as well, and that was like something I'll always remember. And he has been a part of so many legendary, like great matches that I've wanted him to win. Even when it didn't make no damn sense, like it was just like, like there's like I remember his title challenge at Dontaku in 2018, where it was like, yeah, bro, you might not ever beat Okada again, and he actually ended up beating Okada again later that year. But at that time, it was like the rivalry had already been decided. He was literally just trying to hold on to this one thing he had, which was the pay-per-view defense record or the championship defense record, and he just like laid it all out. And to lose to one Rainmaker, that Okada, was just like one of the most special matches I've ever seen. I remember seeing him and Kenny main event the Dome, Kenny's last match in New Japan, and if there was a lot of people that could have been in the ring with him, where I would have been like, yo, this don't feel right. Like, and part of me felt like it didn't feel right because Tanahashi kind of was. It was like a kind of to the past thing. It was like, all right, well, pop it on Tanahashi for now, but it just didn't feel right. But if he had to lose to someone else, like I didn't mind Tanahashi being in that spot, to basically like wrap Kenny's time in New Japan up. And his G1 run before that, 2018, and just seeing him being this elder statesman. We talk about people that are giving. Like, he builds a main eventer in the middle of his prime. I always call Okada and Tanahashi Federer and Nadal, and it's like, it's like this person just pops up and just starts beating your ass in the middle of your prime. You can't do shit with them, and it's like you just got to fight them off until time says you can't anymore. And he's done just an admirable job from to this day, walking in the forbidden door and turning the crowd against Jon Moxley. Like, possibly the greatest babyface I've ever seen.
Way up there.
Like, he's just connects with you on an emotional level. He connects with you like on a visceral level, like where you're just yelling at him either to fire up or like. There's so many great matches in his catalog that he can that you can reference. I think it was earlier this year, we were watching Dominion 2012, and it was when he won the belt back from Okada for the first time, and it was just like, this guy's so fucking great. G1 Finals 2007 against Yuji Nagata. The slaps that he would make, he walked through from Kota Ibushi. He is someone that just understands how to get the most out of his body and his mind in wrestling, which is a high regard. Yeah, he's the fucking ace.
Yeah. Number 5 for me, Mayu Iwatani. I love an underdog babyface. This woman started as somebody that was the last person in the opening or the inaugural dojo class of Stardom to get a win, to score a victory. It took her 11 months. That's still the rookie record for the longest time it takes to get anyone in Stardom to get a win. People speculated and thought like she wasn't going to make it. She wasn't going to pass her protest. She wasn't going to make it, and she made it. And to go from there to like within like 2 years to be someone that they want to highlight, and like put on the marquee with Lanai and Io, and like even early on with Kyrie, like even in the first year of Kyrie, they knew what they had with Kyrie. But you see someone like the posters, and like she just was like this country bumpkin that they were like, she's good, but we don't really know what we have in her, or we don't really know if she can like be a top star. And then over time, like, she rose to the occasion and she becomes a champion, and like her title run doesn't go really long, and because she ends up dislocating her elbow in the middle of the match, they have to give the belt off to Toni Storm. But like she comes back and she rebuilds, and then like by the time we start watching, she's Mayu Iwatani. She's the last top star they have. Like after New Japan, after WWE goes to get Kyrie, goes to get Io. Io fails her test because of her neck. They get another year with Io to keep building around, to build up Momo, because Momo was 18 at the time. And they put the belt on Kagetsu. Like it's up to Kagetsu and Mayu to keep this thing afloat, and they held it together. And then like the younger wrestlers come through between Hazuki and Momo, and Hannah signs on, and Tam becomes better, and like. She ends up tearing her MCL in like December 2018, and she's struggling and all that kind of stuff. And, the call is, well, Woman of Honor, they want to do something with Stardom. She just tore her her MCL. What do you got? And they sent her out there a couple months later to go wrestle Kelly Kine. She becomes a champion. And she brings it back to Stardom, and she has a fucking killer match with Konami. It was like a 4.25 star match. That's a Kelly Klein problem. That's not Mayu Iwatani. She's out here with a torn MCL, or recovering from a torn MCL, and she's still great. And then, like, by that time, like, after watching all of her previous stuff, from earlier in the decade, and then watching her on a weekly basis in Stardom, like, I just grew to, like, love watching this woman every chance I got. And, like, very much like the Bayley stuff of just, like, this earnestness, and like also like the Kyrie stuff of just being like this dork that's klutz and clumsy and stuff, and like it actually makes you like her more that she's like a I was gonna say a politically incorrect term, but like she's such a goofball. And but it's fun loving, and like to see her like get the belt back and have that title reign that like she couldn't have after beating Io finally after 3 tries in 2016 and 17, like finally have the ace run, and she's fucking incredible. And like pandemic happens, it's very much like Moxley, but it's like it don't matter it don't matter the venue, it don't matter the match. She's going to go out there and she's trying to go get 4 stars every single time. Like I quite honestly, like 2020, I don't think any wrestler had more 4-star matches than her that I saw. Don't matter the promotion. It was her. And like she was carrying the company on her back. Like I think by the time we finished 2020 Stardom's like best matches, like we had to make a rule like she can't be in more than 4 of them, because she would have been in like 6 of them. She was incredible. And then obviously the 2 matches with Takumi take it to another level. But like, you know, I just think that she is like the Tanahashi of Stardom in that way. Like she stayed. She helped plant seeds for the next generation in Tam and Tam and you know, Arisa when Arisa was still around, and like had the fuse with Kagetsu, had, you know, was gonna have the feud with Hannah, but Hannah, you know, she passed, and like still going forward, like I still trust her more than basically anyone except for Shuri in a big man situation at this point. Like she's just great, and like. You know, same thing with Tam. I don't know how much longer this thing gonna last, but like I'm gonna enjoy the hell out of it while I still got them around.
For sure. Number 4, the Young Bucks. Matt and Nick Jackson. The ultimate tag team. They dress alike, they wrestle alike at times. They have a similar sense of like self, being the elite. Just having the most ridiculous match catalog for tag teams that anyone could ever pull up. Like you pull up the cage match and it's disgusting. Babyface, heel, any type of match, regular rules, street fights, anything. The fashion, the evolving their look over time, the obvious like callbacks to like, you know, their historical peers, and then just like completely outdoing them, like when it comes to like their mind for the business, like literally changing wrestling as a tag team, not in WWE, through Ring of Honor, through New Japan. They sure killed the business, for sure. Like throughout like with PWG, every promotion, all the belts. FTR likes to talk about 7-star FTR. That's great for them. But if we're talking about all the different belts somebody has won, we would have to do like 21-star Young Bucks in that case. Like these guys have earned the right to write whatever check they want to cash at this point. These guys are millionaire. They like, you know, they say people was rich before rap. Like they were rich before AEW like came along. These guys are multi-millionaires. Like we're talking about, like when I met these guys, I told them they're the real DIY. Like I'm a big proponent of doing things yourself, and the Bucks took the long, hard way up, like coming up through the backyards and the indies in California and wrestling tons of lucha guys and just figuring it all out, like in every promotion they've ever been in. They are possibly the single most plug and play act there is, no matter where it is. I think they have, like, they're the greatest tag team of all time. I think they're a first ballot Observer Hall of Famers the day they go in. They've drawn at a level that tag teams normally don't. The tandem offense, I think they're Steph and Clay essentially of wrestling. They never have bad matches. Like, and they will, like, they can carry teams. They can work with people at their level. They never disappoint. You don't watch a Young Bucks match and be like, oh, well, that was it. Like, they're part of, like, the elite, which I think is the greatest faction in wrestling history. Just the way they've adjusted wrestling, like, it's unparalleled in a sense. Like, you can have an argument for, like, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, but that's a way different, like, argument, I think. Like, through the strength of their work, their promotional style, their like their meet and greets and like creating like being the elite. They literally created another way to get over. Like, all right, we're not like the most like Matt's a good talker. Nick doesn't really talk as much, but they're going to create this thing that allows them to get themselves over and other people to get over. They're selfless. They are just like have no problem like doing business with like pretty much whoever. And I am like between Bucks and Lovers and then Bucks, Kenny, Hangman, like we're talking about Pantheon level matches. Their rivalry with the Lucha Brothers, which is like the stuff like a book should be written on it. Like we're talking about brother matchups and stuff like that. Like they're so far ahead of like most of the field. It's not even funny. Like it's like when Mark Jackson was trying to tell people this is the greatest
shooting backcourt
ever, right? And
in 2013, we're like, what?
And people were like, what? And then I'm trying to tell people in real time, like the Young Bucks are so far ahead of like the 80s and 90s tag teams that like we're never on this level, like just output wise and affecting wrestling the way they have. Like AEW doesn't start if it's not for Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson. Like they're the call that Tony Khan starts this promotion with, and they're like was fortunate to meet the Bucks once, and it was great, and I think they are, as long as they're going to keep going, because a common theme here with a lot of these guys, like they got it going, like at a young age relative to when One Nation Radio like began, and then they were like in their mid 30s or like possibly heading like to their 40s, right? Like, but the Bucks like have maximized this decade almost like no one else. Like there's no long gaps of inactivity. There's like they're winning tag team of the year every year damn near. These are special people. Like you're going to see a lot of people, and you guys have seen a lot of people try to tear these guys down. A lot of people have nasty agendas against these guys, whether it's for how they look, their perceived toughness or lack of toughness. But when we start talking about the scoreboard and laying it down, exactly what their resume is, can't fuck with Matt and Nick Jackson.
Number 4, right? Number 4.
Yeah.
Kazuchika Okada. Man, like growing up, I had watched wrestling as long as I can remember from WCW and WWF, and even dabbled in some ECW before wrapping it up in 2000, and then came back in 2011 after watching only watching WrestleManias from WrestleMania 25 on to 2011, and I thought I knew what I needed to know about wrestling. It is what it is. Like you go in there and you have your match, and it's very fun or whatever else. And like matches are great at a certain level. And then like I watched New Japan Pro Wrestling and Wrestle Kingdom 9 the first time, and like that shit broke my brain. I had no idea that like this kind of stuff was achievable. And like obviously you talked about Nakamura versus Ibushi being the semi-main event of that show, and obviously you have Ibushi flying around everywhere in the Golden Triangle as you mentioned. But to see Tanahashi and Okada like do what they did in the ring, and like Okada is, if nothing else, just basically like in my opinion, watch him move around the ring, like, oh, he's Japanese Orton, but like he's better than Orton will ever be in any lifetime or any other alternate reality. It's like broke my heart. Like I don't know if I can. I remember saying to you like I don't know if I can watch this stuff since basically it will ruin me on WWE. It did. I don't watch this shit no more. And it has to do with like the fact that like this stuff is just so high level and creative and thoughtful in a way that like in with pacing that it's not like not in a way that feels like it's put on. Like the selling feels real. It feels like sport. And to see Okada do all this stuff and have these incredible matches, whether it's in the dome with Naito, or in the dome with Omega, or in the dome with Tanahashi, or in the dome with Shingo over the years, or in the dome with Ospreay, or in Budokan Hall with Ospreay, or just around anywhere, like doing all this stuff. Like, I don't remember where they were with Shibata, the Shibata match. I can't remember, but
Sumo Hall.
And just to see all of that over these years, and like, this is not some dude that is like, just beating down your door with like the gifts of a Will Ospreay or a Kota Ibushi or a Kenny Omega. He might actually have all that stuff. He doesn't need to use that stuff. He's that fucking good. He just comes out here and he wrestles a style that could have translated to any style we've ever seen in the history in our lifetime. Anyway, I'm not even going far back to fucking Luthez not doing it, but like in the last 35, 40 years of wrestling, his style could have matched up anywhere as a main event style or whatever else, and the things he does. And is not out of place. He's not doing cartoonish selling, whatever else. He's just better at the basics than anyone I've ever seen, at a repeatable, like at an unrepeatable level, and it's just ridiculous. And like, I don't know how someone achieves that. It's mind-boggling. Like, to me, he's like pro wrestling's LeBron, where it's like this super young prodigy. Is he doing things that like? Is he doing some things on the floor that no one has ever done before? Not necessarily. But for some fucking reason, like, no one's ever done it better necessarily. And it's wild. Like, he's not necessarily someone like that captures the imagination, like, say, a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant or an Allen Iverson or whatever else, in that way of the crash and burn type of factor of a finesse guy or whatever else, or a smaller guy or whatever else in basketball, when I'm making a comparison to LeBron. Like, he's not like a Rey Mysterio Jr. or a Kota Ibushi. He's not. Absolutely not. Ospreay. Absolutely not. But like, for some fucking reason, he's just better than them. And it's like, I don't understand. I fully understand it, yet I still haven't figured out how and why. It's almost like the Tom Brady thing, where it's like, he doesn't have the best arm, but this fucking guy won 7 titles. He's just better at this than everybody, but there's no discernible thing that you can see, like, tangibly to figure out how. But he keeps fucking doing it, and he keeps sticking. He just had my favorite match. He had the best match I've seen this year, just like a month ago, 3 weeks ago, or whatever else. He keeps doing it, and he's been a standard, ever since he got the title back, at Wrestle Kingdom 10. And like, the dude just keeps trucking, and like, outside of a blip of he might have back issues, we don't know where the days over be this good anymore. Months later, he just shuts that shit down. Nah, still the greatest. Like, like, by the time this thing is all said and done and everything's added up, like, he's gonna be the greatest pro wrestler of all time. Period. He's gonna be like how we used to think of A-Rod, like, oh, he's gonna hit 800 home runs. He's gonna hit 800 home runs. Like, what is there to discuss? Like, that's where we are with him. And he's already at like fucking 700 home runs, it feels like. Maybe he's like 34. He's just incredible. He's just incredible. Greatest wrestler I've ever seen. He's the greatest pro wrestler I've ever seen. Just is.
Number 3, Chris Jericho. A man that's on this list, when you look at the ages of everyone else, what is he still doing here? I'll tell you what he's still doing here. You can never count out Chris Jericho. It has been the agenda all year. It has been the agenda for as long as this show has existed. Chris Jericho was on my list last time. He's on it this time at number 3. 3, I tell you. He is the wrestler that I have watched since I was a child, literally a 7-year-old. And WCW Saturday Night, Thunder, Nitro, WCW Pro, WCW Worldwide, and going over to WWF and hoping that he got to be the man there and he wins it. And when Shawn Michaels laid it down as a kid, everyone was like, yo, Chris Jericho's the next Shawn Michaels. Like, that was like the whole thing. But like, I never really saw them as like similar wrestlers. I'm like, yeah, they both got blonde hair or whatever. But it was like he was the star of the cruiserweight division in WCW. He had all the personality, all the mic skills. I read all of his books just through and I come into doing One Nation Radio with James in 2012. At this point, Jericho has been back for the program with CM Punk.
Yep.
Going into WrestleMania 28. I feel vindicated already because I just like talk about how much I love Chris Jericho before like that whole run set off. And then like, little did I know, like, you know, as much as I like Jericho from everything I put together like in 2008 and everything before that, essentially as a kid, he unleashed like the second half of his career from like 2012 to now. And he might be the single most, or he's like, when we talk about wrestlers making an impact on wrestling and then like figuring it out what he needs to do to stay ahead, even as like like I said, this was kind of about Tanahashi too, as his body fails him. Like, how do you stay ahead? And Chris Jericho's older, like there's almost never been a high level wrestler at this age still like him. Like, and you know, people were going to say, yeah, Minoru Suzuki's there. I feel like they're doing two different things. Like I don't think you can make Minoru Suzuki a main eventer right now. You can make Jericho a main eventer right now. His promos have continued to get sharp. He has found ways to do what he has always done well in modern ways. He just did the Lionheart nostalgia run, and he's not content with resting on who he was. He's always worried about who he is, and that's always like something that I strive for. Jericho's another DIY dude. He was like, yo, I'm a musician too. I'm going to be in a rock band and be a pro wrestler. Like, I got two different goals. He's a podcaster, like a wrestling podcasting godfather at this point. Him going to New Japan opened the door for a lot of people to check out New Japan that wouldn't have in the first place. As we were already there, welcoming Chris Jericho in there to work with Kenny Omega and talk about how cool this would be. And it was like that match inspiring the creation of AEW, and then his run in AEW ever since, like GOAT contender. The most unique career ever in professional wrestling, has worked for every promotion of the last 30 years you can pretty much name, except like All Japan. I don't believe he appeared there. He was in War. He was in CMLL. He was in Smoky Mountain, AAA, WCW, ECW, WWF during the Attitude Era. Goes all the way through modern New Japan, AEW. There's no one with his resume, like in the places he's been and hot and being there at the right time and just being ahead of the business. Like Chris Jericho is like, he called himself the living legend in like 1999. He got heat with Larry Sabisco with it, but like Larry Sabisco ain't never been on this level ever. Living legend is like we should be thankful. Like Chris Jericho is still in wrestling and like still offering his knowledge to wrestling, because he's going to be like, you know, the guys we grew up with as the old timers. Like there's these knowledgeable people that learned all these lessons from people. The person that's going to be passing that stuff on from all this time that we've watched wrestling to your next era of guys like your Hangmans, your Jay Whites, Will Ospreay, all the younger people, they all look up to Jericho. Jericho's big homie to all of them. And he's going to be passing that, you know, the stuff that made him great that he learned. And he's going to keep passing that down. And in one way or another, Chris Jericho will always be in the DNA of pro wrestling around the world.
Number 3. Johnny Gargano. I love underdog babyface. Man, I remember watching the Cruiserweight Classic, and I remember watching his match with Ciampa, and be like, it's a really good match. You know, and like putting it out of my mind. And then the next thing I know, they do Brooklyn 2 and it's DIY as a tag team now versus not the Mechanics, Revival. The Revival at the time, yeah. They had just got done being called the Mechanics, but Revival. And I'm like, yo, this match is incredible. This is one of the best tag matches I've ever seen. The set up of like all of these incredible, what would be incredible finishes to matches in general that they're kicking out of. I'm just like, holy shit, it blows my mind. Ultimately, they end up losing. And then the next takeover, they have the match. They have the Toronto, and they somehow have having a match that blew my mind. They have a match that like I think is one of the 3 best tag matches I've ever seen. And like they go from there. By that point in time, like this is like my 3rd match ever seeing Johnny Gargano. I'm like, yo, this dude's like fucking incredible. And to see them, be tag team champs and, eventually lose the ALP and then they break up and unfortunately Ciampa tore his ACL. So like Johnny has to go out on his own, but he doesn't have like a hot program to go. He just has to go out there and plug and play. And man, when he plugs and play, this motherfucker don't miss. And he's out here on these undercards and these mid-card matches and he's fucking killing it. He's the best wrestler in the company or in the sub brand. Just seeing him, and then like eventually it's setting up for he sets up with Andrade, and he has the matches with Andrade, and they're incredible. And obviously Ciampa comes back, and it's on. And like obviously I don't want to short sell the Andrade match. A lot of people think it's the best WWE match ever. I personally think the match with Ciampa at New Orleans is the best match ever in WWE history, but neither here nor there. Like, he just goes on this run of just, like, incredible big matches that, like, match up with literally anything at the time, anywhere else in the world. Like, the only people that you can say are better than him at big matches at that point are, like, Kenny Omega and Okada, which is like, what? This dude, like, was like a 10-day contract. In a matter of speaking, for NXT, and like he becomes this, and the whole run where I was like, yo, this dude has to be. He's just the crowd behind him. The crowd loves him. He's a great baby face. Like, he has to be the champion. Like, it gives me the shade. It gives me like the shades of like Daniels or like Bryan all over again. And then like he gets stopped at Brooklyn 3 that year, and I'm just like, yo, I have to stick this through. I have to see how he has to get back to this. And obviously he does. And on that run, like, he's still killing it, has a great match, does the heel turn thing, has a match with Aleister Black. Aleister Black slaps Sis back into him, has the match with Ricochet. And like, he is like, and Ciampa's getting nervous. Ciampa wants no problem with it. He's like, hey man, let's become a team again. And let's get you the United States champions. You stay the fuck away from my NXT title. And then like, he doesn't realize that, like, he thinks he's gaslighting Gargano, but Gargano is really gaslighting him and playing to his ego. And then when the moment of truth comes, it's like, all along, it's like, nah, man, you thought you had me? No. Like, I play like I'm injured, and then I come beat your ass, and it sets up, and unfortunately, like, the match doesn't happen because of Ciampa's neck, but, like, they rebound with Cole, and they go out there, and they have an incredible match that I saw live, and I thought was, like, 4 3/4, and people think this match is one of the greatest matches ever. And I ended up watching it watching it replay, and I see what people say about it, and I wish, like, quite frankly, I didn't watch it live. The match is so much better on television. But like it is like, it is just like a best of the Super Juniors final. Like it competes with anything that's maybe not like Ospreay and Shingo. It's just incredible. And then the next match they have, like, it's basically it's equal without the 2 out of 3 falls thing, as far as just a work rate, just as far as like no interference or anything, and none of the emotion of basically beating 4 guys to actually get your moment. It was just same equal, and like, that whole time he's he's just basically hanging out because he's taking time off, and like he's just great, and like that was one of the most fulfilling like babyface title chases I've ever seen, and maybe it is number 1. Like, I mean, for me at this point, like, it's either Tam's white belt run or Danielson won the title at WrestleMania 30 or this. Like, for me, as far as like, I was invested by this person, like, failing at the beginning, and I want them to overcome and eventually get it. And like, for the people that like, that have like, Omega tumbling, Okada, like, those, I feel it in the same way, and I get it. Like, in like, a lot of these people on my list, like, they fit that mold of like the program of this person on one level, and all it takes is like one match or one moment, and it like seems like they're about to go on a run, and I'm just like behind them 100% of the way, and like once they achieve, like it's like I fucking saw it and I believed in it, and it like makes me like root for them even harder. And so Gargano definitely exemplified that, and like he's just like the greatest NXT performer ever at a time where like I love that that brand or promotion, whatever you want to call it at the time, and they were having just incredible things, and I miss it. I really do. But yeah, just incredible.
Number 2, Bryan Danielson. Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him. I talked about Hiroshi Tanahashi being a great babyface. Hook, line, and sinker. 2013, that run to saving WrestleMania 30. The slow motion yes chant. I will never forget that ever. I like his work as a babyface the best, personally. I know some people like his heel stuff, but he's like the yes movement was like one of the defining things that we've ever talked about on this podcast. And he like I always believed in him, and I always felt like he didn't get his just due in WWE. As you know, they were kicking and screaming, to go with him. It felt like you don't come up with as many conspiracy theories like I do about Bryan that like if somebody wasn't that fucking great and special to you as a wrestler, like when he had to retire, like, I don't think I cried, but it was just like it felt like this big void, like from that was gone, that no matter how much AJ Styles was awesome on pay-per-view, it couldn't replace like the movement that I felt WWE turned away from. Like, I didn't watch his last match in WWE because I didn't want to see him lose to Roman Reigns again. Essentially get chosen, or not get chosen, essentially, and, I call me a mark, whatever. I didn't want to see it. He got to get 2 WrestleMania main events out of it. Ironically, one of them coming against Roman Reigns. I always wanted them to do Bryan and Reigns with the, roles flipped, and somehow Edge got in it. So, or excuse me, somehow Bryan got in because it was supposed to be Roman and Edge. But he's just like I never bought that Bryan Danielson was an underdog because I thought he was the best. So I never bought into the size size stuff. Like, this is like when I realized, like, yo, this guy can really just be my favorite wrestler. I don't have to have any like misforgivings about it. I don't have to like act like only Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart are allowed to be in that space. Like, he changed that. Like, and it was like watching him, like he's responsible for so much joy and like the WrestleMania parties we used to throw. And whether like, and he did this stuff. It wasn't like he had the 27 Yankees of opponents to do this against. Like, he was pulling a lot of people up to his level. Like, there were people that were good for what they did, like Orton and, his matches with Cena, and he would pull shit out of Kane, like casket match, Sheamus, the Real Americans, like, and even to this day, he's still pulling stuff out of Jake Hager. So it's like, I was so like, bummed out by his retirement. And then like when he came back, I felt like it was like a new lease on life. And then they blew that too. Because obviously their weak ability to book baby faces declined even further in those 4 years. And throughout this whole time, I insist he should have been cleared in 2015, the end of 2015. Lots of doctors agree with me. Only one didn't. And then, once it was time for other promotions to get hot, like, he would have went to New Japan. He would have signed with AEW out the gate, probably if he was able to. Magically, he can wrestle again. whatever the situation may be. People like that Planet's Champion stuff a lot more than I did, but I kind of disconnected like in a similar way that James is disconnected to Bailey. Like in that time, like I was like, he's gonna make it work because he's fucking Daniel Bryan, but like I don't like ain't none of this shit like really hitting for me. Then he kind of pulls Kofi Mania out, like, you know, giving him his world title, you know, out of thin air. He has to land the plane for that. It's awesome. Still not right what I want for him. So I'm just like kind of watching him at a distance as I'm further disconnecting with WWE. At this point, you know, I stopped watching WWE, and it's like, oh yeah, General Happiness peaks at 2 for sure. RP PNB Rock, yeah, he lost his life tonight in LA, I believe. But Bryan Danielson, like, continued to go on from there, and I just knew he was in character hell until he left the company after that. The cooled down babyface, and then he was someone that got something worth a damn out of the Fiend, which is nuts. And he just had this hunger to really, like, you know, the years that he got taken off his career, he didn't want to spend the rest of his career headed down, and they tried to pacify him towards the end, but he was out of there, and we all knew it. And he goes to AEW's first match is against Kenny Omega, one of the greatest matches and environments I've ever seen in wrestling. And he rolls out this, like, he decides every week or every like week and a half, like with Rampage, I'm gonna put 4, 4 1/4, 4 1/2, 4 3/4 on the board every single week, and nobody can stop me from doing it. I don't care who you are. Like, and he just fucking rolls out like it's. I am more connected to the Daniel Bryan run than I have been to his AEW work, strangely, because, like, you know, he felt like
Rise.
It was the Rise thing, right? And he was coming up, and it was like this, he was raging against this machine. And I had a question I asked on the air, like when he came, like I was like, I wonder if it'll be the same, that there's no quote unquote like machine for him to rage against. And it hasn't quite felt the same, but like as a wrestler, he's sharp as ever. He's kept up, like he doesn't necessarily wrestle a style even that would traditionally appeal to me, because he does a lot of the technical stuff, but I always liked his striking. I liked his fire, and I just liked him. Like, and seeing what he's done, he seems like he's going to be the AEW champion to come. I'm interested to see, like, you know, what his pay-per-view matches look like from there. But as far as like these last 10 years, like, you know, if not for, you know, number one on my list, he would have been easy number one. I'm sure you guys know who that is at this point, but I never believed in a wrestler like I believed in Daniel Bryan, even with his body failing him at times, until, you know, number one.
Number 2, CM Punk. Him, like the pipe bomb coupled with The Rock coming back for WrestleMania 28, like got me and Rich into like watching Monday Night Raw and SmackDown like on a regular basis. Before we were just like, well, you know, I watched Money in the Bank. I heard about the pipe bomb. I watched Money in the Bank. Holy shit, that match is great. Like, what the hell are they going to do? Like, he just left with the belt. Like, his contract actually ran out. Like, this is interesting. Like, all of that was just so. It just felt like some uncharted territory for me. Like, I didn't know what the hell was going on. It felt like, you know, a bit like must-see television. And obviously they bungled it at points, but it was still compelling nonetheless. And like to see that, you know, his heel turn to fit for The Rock, and like the promo back and forth of like seeing The Rock in the ring mixing up with a dude that's like, that looks like that. Like, it's interesting. And like CM Punk is giving The Rock the business on the mic. And then they have the match, and the match is, you know, really good. And, you know, and then from that, like, he takes that into, the Undertaker thing, and he's wrestling like a man possessed. Like, I think this is his best performance I've ever seen. Quite frankly. And obviously, it continues, and he's working with the Shield, and like him and the Shield doing really good stuff, and he get the the mega powers, or sorry, the indie powers combined for the tag match stuff or whatever else. And at that point in time, he's out of WWE, like after that, and then like it just sucked that he was gone, because the dude was like such an important part of like the people talk about like the pastime stuff of like when you watch a baseball team and you see somebody like every single day or 6 days a week. And like the same thing is like when I watch Stardom, is like I get to see like Mayu and Shuri and Tam and Azumi and whoever else like twice a week at least. So Punk was just gone, and there was like no sight unseen going. Like this person was like at one point like until Danielson rose like my favorite wrestler to watch. And he was just gone. I moved on, and like, he shows up in Chicago, and like, it was great. It was great. Like, I never thought it was going to happen. And, I think that in AEW, he's had a great run. Like, I think the underrated thing about him that people don't seem to, I guess, get or grasp is that like, he may not be the best wrestler, he may not be the best athlete, but he's better at program building and TV time than anyone else. Like the Kingston stuff, the MJF stuff, he's just a mastermind at like being able to put together compelling television, and then there's a match, and the match is always going to be quality. It may not be 4.5 stars all the goddamn time. It may rarely be 4.5 stars at this point, given his age. But like this American Pro Wrestling, you just give me great. And in the big match setting, he consistently gave me great on pay-per-view. Like his TV stuff is a little underrated, but doesn't match with what he does on pay-per-view. But his pay-per-view track record on in AEW has been impeccable. Like his worst match is the Derby match, and like I obviously we had what we've just had recently with all the bullshit that is a making of his own doing and it's self-destructive. But like I'm not going to pretend that like I have not enjoyed the hell out of this CM Punk run, even the Bret Hart-ism stuff that people find grating to a halt. I still find those to be quality matches that I still take things from and enjoy, much to the chagrin of my co-host. But I'm so happy that like he was back for the time being, and obviously it seems like it might be the time to wind this thing down, given the fact that he's gotten 2 serious injuries so close to each other and clustered. But like I'm so happy to have had like that dude come back into my life, and like it reminded me of like how much I enjoyed watching him at the beginning of last decade, and like. Dude's just like, he just has it. Whatever it is, the dude's just full of it. In leaps and bounds. So yeah, that he was my number 2.
Number 1. Not any real shock here if you listen to One Nation Radio for any amount of time here. It is not Cody Rhodes, Frankie. But number 1 is Kenny Omega. When Kobe Bryant retired from basketball, obviously you guys know the reverence I have for Kobe Bryant and drawing inspiration through his performances, and not being as connected to basketball as I once was, and spending a lot of my time watching wrestling. Kenny Omega became my favorite athlete, period. And just like the way he's wrestled is connected with me on a talent level. Just see like how incredible he is, just putting the matches together on a storytelling device. He's got a quirky personality that I really connect with. He's someone that, like Kobe Bryant, had a lot of detractors, like at the time of his greatness, that I rallied extra harder around him. I think he's like we never got to see LeBron versus Kobe, but we sure got to see Okada versus Omega. And to James' analogy about Okada being LeBron, just like this perfect guy, like Kenny Omega, like had to take a longer route, and it took him longer in his career, and really had to maximize what he could out of his body, and he was and is like just one of the fastest guys I've seen in the ring ever, in explosion, like explosive, like what a basketball player would be. It seems like he is someone like that, like I draw inspiration from, like just in my art. I'm like, yo, if like Kenny can roll out and just have it, I can do it too. I think he's like, and especially like when Kobe Bryant died, like Kenny kind of moved into that space of like the top kind of like athlete that I follow, like, and just really like, I'm a big fan of. And luckily, like I was able to, watch him kill it throughout the pandemic. And it was really cool to see him come back recently. And he really wrecked himself for the last couple years, helping build this promotion and being absolutely selfless in the process, deciding he's going to put Hangman over, and there's going to be nothing that holds him from doing it. Obviously, the rise in New Japan. I think me and Jeremy bonded over our love of Kenny. And seeing just like being the elite, like all the great entertaining skits and everything like that. I remember the day he won the G1 finals in 2016. I woke up and saw the last 15 minutes of the match. So I was seeing him go through, hit all the old Bullet Club leaders moves, and none of them worked. And then he did the One Wing Angel, and he beat Goto for the G1. I felt like I was seeing the next like great star in wrestling. Saw the matches with Naito, like the 3 consecutive G1 matches. Obviously, Okada and Omega, that series is the defining series of pro wrestling to me. Just never a higher quality of work, a high quality person, it seems like. And it's just like, I feel fortunate to have seen it's crazy, because what Daniel Bryan like took away like in his retirement, it allowed me to kind of like look around elsewhere and catch Kenny like on the ascent, and then just ride it out. And the greatest moment of my pro wrestling fandom, when he beat Okada in 2018 and won the series. And it was like, I don't know what to do with my life now. Like that's what I felt like after the match. It was like, and I felt like that. Josh felt like that. Jeremy felt like that. We all watched it together. It like this, like if it was like the Godfather trilogy and shit like that, like that's what like this is the Godfather of like wrestling. Like
if Godfather 3 was worth a damn, yeah,
like it's like like the endurance, the fighting spirit, like Kenny Omega has like draws people to tears. I don't think people will really like obviously like he has a lot of detractors, like the Cornette people and the pure elitists. Like wherever he goes, there's always like a weird sect that's trying to come at him and discredit this guy. Obviously, it seems like Meltzer has had some kind of loose association with him, like as far as like overrating his matches or always rating his matches high, and that kind of added a lot to his the perception around him. But like when I see him, it's like I don't need Dave Meltzer to tell me that this is like the greatest wrestler I've ever seen. Like just like I don't know what he can't do in the ring. I feel fortunate to be able to watch him still. I feel fortunate I feel like he's going to have another 5 years at this level. And I think along with the elite and like seeing like him and the Young Bucks together, like that's like, man, it's like I aspire to like to do dope shit with my friends like that. And his title wins, like they've been great. His character stuff with Don Callis is phenomenal, because like I feel like I would like hype him up if they were like, Rich, what would you want to, if you were able to be Kenny Omega's manager, how would you act? I feel like Callis is a fucking avatar for me. and I'm sure I talk James' ear off like all the time about Kenny. It's just like, yo, I feel similar to Kenny Omega that I do about Kobe Bryant at this point. Like that's just, it is what it is. And I'm almost like tearing up talking about it. But I'm glad he's back. And he, like, the matches that he's done has helped inspire like my life. I hand it, James.
Well said, man. Well said. Number one for me, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan, whatever you want to call him. Sometimes I call him Bryanson because I make an amalgamation of both of the names. Watching that dude be, you know, a comedy guy for the most part, starting out watching WWE on SmackDown, and he's the Money in the Bank winner, and you got Big Show, and you got Mark Henry, and they're the champion and challengers, and obviously you got Mark Henry doing the Hall of Fame thing, and the only person that can stop him is Big Show seemingly. And like they keep teasing it like this dork that that I think at the time Michael Cole is saying is trying to hint that he's a virgin because Vince McMahon's an asshole.
Yeah.
Is this person that like you shouldn't respect because like Dave Meltzer years ago like thought he was the best technical wrestler ever, and like he got shit because like the dude like because of, you know, vanilla midgetism or whatever else over the decades of pro wrestling is like, if you're really good at pro wrestling, apparently you can't be charismatic or be funny or have comedic timing or be a strong personality. And the guy just like kept plugging away, and then he eventually won over whoever. I don't know who the hell it was, but like he cashed in Money in the Bank, and then he turns into this chicken shit heel over the years, and he's like, or over the time, and then by the time you get the Money in the Bank, it's like, oh my God, he's about to lose the freaking Santino, and the crowd fucking believes it. And then, you know, he gets to WrestleMania and he gets squashed for the big Sheamus win, and like the crowd just would not let the shit go because he had an attachment with the crowd. And like the next thing you know, like he shows up the next night, and like the crowd is with him. You get the yes chant and all that, and you know, he does Team Hell No, and that's like one of the great, like, weird odd couple tag teams in WWE history. And like it keeps getting him over because he's with Kane, and Kane's like reinvigorating his career at that point. And then you get to like the match with Cena, and like I remember telling Rich, is like, bro, like I'm not buying this shit that they're gonna put this fucking guy over. Like I love him, but they're not gonna put him over, because why should I trust that this company is gonna do the right thing and put this dude over and like give a shot to like trying to make another top star. And this at a point in time where it's like you have, you know, Team Hell No on Raw, you have CM Punk on Raw, you have Cena on Raw. So it's like literally for each hour you have a mega, as my view of it, like you have a big gigantic babyface hero to carry an hour of their own, and they're just Raw was just a blast to watch at the time, even if it wasn't even like you had the same dumb things you always had in WWE, but like it was just still stuff that like not even necessarily bearable, actually enjoyable to watch, because you had like these three anchor baby faces, and they've never come close to anything similar to that ever again. As far as having heroes that you trust and believe in, and like you see Bryan like win that match at with Cena. Like, it was very satisfying for me, and I loved it. And then they snatched it from me seconds later with Randy Orton. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking great. And like, you know, they had the feud, and like, obviously that was the end of it. That's what they wanted the end of it to be. But like, their hands were forced by like, they knew that like the Batista shit by announcing Batista, and the crowd was like, oh, it's just Batista. And like, we were like, well, what is this story you're telling where like he just got rid of he turned heel for a second, he's brainwashed, and he just got the slow motion yes chant things. Like, what are you watching on TV that's not letting y'all know from the crowd that like this is not like the person to be pushing at this particular time? And like for him to get that, and then they eventually changed course because Triple H's match went out the window because CM Punk left. And like they were like, all right, we're going to put this fucking guy all the way over then. Like, we're going to have him beat Triple H, and he's going to get to the triple threat match, and then he fucking wins, and they do all the stuff, the stretcher job and all that stuff, and he still fights off the stretcher job after the RKO bomb. And man, like,
that shit is absurd on his face. Like, bro, they did everything to like just beat him down to the last moment. They injured him before that match.
Yeah. With Triple H. After Triple H, her injuries on. Like, they laid it on super thick, but it was like, yo, they made that dude, he was already a legend to a lot of people. They made that dude a legend to everyone that was watching at the time, in that night. If he had, people hadn't already felt that about him. And then like, unfortunately, he had to relinquish the title, but when he came back, like, it was, and they made him the IC champion, like, it was fun. And he was around, and then he wasn't. And like, I was like, yo, where the fuck is he? Like, what's going on? And then like, they made him retire, and like, that shit was a gut punch. That shit sucked. Like, I don't think at that point in time, like, I don't think I ever cried over pro wrestling ever before. Like, his retirement, like, that shit hurt. His retirement speech, not necessarily his retirement, but his retirement speech, that shit hurt. And, he was around, you see him on TV and everything, doing the SmackDown GM, and he's with Shane, and, Stephanie and Hunter and Triple H are still, like, doing I guess, like, the last remnants of the Authority thing, and, like, SmackDown is a show you're supposed to watch, they're actually, like, trying to have good programming, and then he's around, and, like, the show is fun, and that he's at the helm of, and then, like, out of nowhere, we find out, like, he's back, and, like, I mean, I don't think to that point, actually, no, I take it back, but like, he cuts that promo and it's incredible. Like, his retirement promo and his comeback promo are like the two of my favorite, like, promos of all time. Like, things that brought me to tears. And to see that dude come back, it was like so, it was such a joyous occasion. Like, I was so happy the whole day, getting that announcement beforehand, he's coming back. And like, to see him in WWE, and obviously he did the thing with Big Cass, and it wasn't that fun, but like, he's having matches on TV with Andrade, and then he has the program with AJ Styles, and eventually he turns heel, and him and AJ have that fun program that had the weird ending thing at Royal Rumble 2019 or whatever. But like, we still got some great matches out of that. We got the match with Brock Lesnar that he always wanted and everything. And then like, basically after that point, everything else is gravy. He keeps showing up and he's plugging away, keeps doing great things. Kofi Mania, as you mentioned, like, adds to just, at this point, like, he's a legacy act. He's adding to the legacy, like, adding like fun things to do on the side. But like, they're done pushing him. Like, I mean, hell, they even left him off of fucking SummerSlam. They should have been wrestling Roman Reigns. And like, he's just great. Every time I see him in a big match, he's still great. And like you mentioned, like, he's able to even pull things and draw things out of people that I think are like doing worthless stuff. And he's still able to make things better. Like you mentioned, like the Fiend thing, and like, he leaves and he ends up in AEW, and like, I'm just so happy that like, I get to see the dude like go in the ring and be great again. And, like, he's just been incredible whenever he's been healthy. He's been incredible every step of the way in AEW. And like, it's been about a year now. Like, the dude's just like, he doesn't miss. He just doesn't miss. Like, everything is like, the floor for him, that dude is like 4 stars. Like, he's fucking incredible. And like, as much as I thought about how I'm like, I thought that he was like just the best even back then, like, he's even fucking better now, and was probably like, because of whatever, creating or whatever, like, creative things or whatever else, like, he was being held back and he was the best then. And like, the dude's just incredible. And like, he was a bridge for a lot of things. He was an anchor for a lot of things, as far as holding things down, like, as far in a good way, as far as like POP hold it down, not hold it down, like it plummeted. Like, the dude was just rock solid as like just being at the top, doing fun things, doing like just great things the whole time. And like, the emotional like connection I had to the dude still to this day is just like, the dude's just a likable dude. Like, it's very simple. Like, if I don't really trust you if you don't like Daniel Bryan. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? The dude's just a nice guy that says funny, goofy things or whatever else, that goes out there and wrestles and is a family dude and like is a well-read person. Like you've seen like following this business, like all these crazy out of their, whacked out, steroid out, coked out people. And like the dude's just like, nah, man, I'm just a nice white boy. And I just go out there and I hit him a biz and I get done. And like, I just it's just like, oh, okay, cool. Sign me up. Like, and like, I'm really happy that I ever like came across this dude on like watching all this stuff over the years. And like, who knows, like, what we've lost on him over the couple years of, retirement or whatever else. But like, even then, like, even with that, like, he's number 2 on your list, he's number 1 on my list. Missing years out of this thing. That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, I think if we like averaged out the scores or whatever, he would probably be like the number 1 wrestler of like the One Nation Radio era.
I mean, we just did it. Or our favorite wrestlers anyway.
Yeah.
He's 1.5.
Yeah.
1.5. No one's even close. I don't think. Yeah, man, but I'm glad we did this. I don't know if we'll do a midweek show to catch up on everything, but like, cause I mean, Dynamite was incredible in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I had a blast doing this. Like basically it's like, talk about, the run. And then basically talked about like the roughly 40 slots for what would be like the wrestlers of the One Nation Radio era. I think this was a great show. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was great. I didn't expect to start crying on air. Y'all gonna have that on me forever. That shit's on video too. Someone probably clipped it.
That was my first thought. I'm not even gonna count. That was my first thought. I was like, oh, they gonna get him. This shit,
they gonna get me.
They gonna get this man. They gonna put him. He gonna put him on the what do you call it? Like the Kenny Omega stand list. Just from this moment on, and they will find this clip.
Yep. And the funny thing is, I got like pyramids behind me, and the pyramids are like ironic. So it's like it's all fucked up, bro. Like, it's sensitive to watch the video. But yeah. We had matches and stuff too. I guess I'll just like run them down. I'm not gonna talk about them, but
okay.
So I'll go Okada Omega 1, Shuri versus Utami. Shuri wins the red belt. Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega in AEW. Arthur Ashe Stadium. Jericho versus Omega. Wrestle Kingdom 12. Okada versus Tanahashi. Tentaku 2018. Kenny Omega versus Kota Ibushi G1 2018. Kota Ibushi versus Tomohiro Ishii G1 2018. Kenny and Hangman versus the Bucks, AEW Revolution, Omega versus Naito, G1 Final, and Okada Omega 4.
Okay, I did not make a list for best matches. That was that 10?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have a list, but off the top of my head, I'm just going to do this. Tam Nakano, Arisu Ishiki, white belt match from June 16, 2019. Julia versus Tam Nakano, March 3rd, 2021, white belt match, title versus hair. Utami Hayashishita versus Shuri, December 29th, 2021, red belt match, no time limit. Omega versus Okada 1, Omega versus Okada 4, Osprey, Shingo, Best Super Junior Final, 2019. That's 6, right?
Yeah,
I think that's 6. Yeah, that's 6. All right, let's move around. Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa. Was it
New Orleans?
Yeah, New Orleans. I can't remember the stipulation. It was some type of death match.
It was unsanctioned.
Unsanctioned. That's right. Unsanctioned. Johnny Gargano. Andrade versus Johnny Gargano. NXT Philadelphia NXT title match. I think that gets me up to 8. Then from there, like Charlotte versus Becky Lynch, Last Woman Standing SmackDown Women's Title match, WWE Evolution. That's like October 2018. That gives me the 9. AJ Styles versus John Cena. SmackDown title. Royal Rumble 2018. No, 17. And trying to think what is going to be this number 10. What is going to be number 10? That's gonna be hard. Like with AEW, I don't really think, because there's so many great matches. I'm not even gonna agonize over all that. But what I will say, I probably would end up going with Lucha Bros versus Young Bucks, the cage match from, was that Full Gear 2019. I'll probably go with that as my favorite AEW match. So
the cage match is 21.
Oh, 2021. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I said 19. My bad. Yeah, the ladder matches. Yeah, that's 2019. Yeah, so those would be my 10. I'm doing this all the time in my head, so I'm probably not going to listen back to this and be like, oh, I fucked that all up.
But yeah, man, 10 years of One Nation Radio. Congratulations, James. Thanks for doing this with me every week. And yeah, man, this is great audio. If I had to say so myself. If you guys if you just want to support the show, as I mentioned earlier, find the One Nation Radio feed and start downloading the shows on that in the future to help us out a great deal. Do it in addition to the Social Suplex podcast network. We don't want to skimp on that. But yeah, we've had a vision and a way we want to approach covering pro wrestling. Hope you guys, share that and continue to rock with us. But yeah, it ain't gonna stop from here. So I only hope to get bigger and reach more people and talk to you guys more about this sport we all love.
So thanks for listening, y'all. Donations go to if you're watching on the stream, PayPal links on the screen. So as the Cash App link. If you are listening from the podcast, go into the show notes or show description and click on the link to Red Circle to take you to donations. And listen to other shows on the network besides One Nation Radio. You have Keepin It Strong Style. You have the Ricky Clive Wrestling Show. Grown Watch This Shit. 8-Bit Suplex. The Grave Consequences Podcast. AEW Match Guide. All Things Elite. Get in the Ring, Great Match Generator, and Meet the Press Slam. Thanks for listening, y'all. Later.
Football fans, grab your favorite food and a cooler full of drinks. It's time to tailgate. Whether you're serving up hot dogs and hamburgers or breaking out the barbecue, feel free to kick things up a notch with Frank's Red Hot. And when you're looking to cool it down, reach for a nice cold Bud Light. The team's going all the way this year. Make sure you're there to cheer them on. And don't forget to fire it up with Frank's Red Hot and cool it down with Bud Light. Enjoy responsibly. Anheuser-Busch Bud Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Hey, it's me, your Uncle Cooper. Sorry to interrupt your music. I do love music, especially when it's set at a reasonable volume. Music is really only as good as your speakers. The same is true for minivans. A minivan is only as good as the tires it sits on. And the button on the screen there, it agrees with me. If you click on it, it'll bring you to all the Cooper minivan tires that'll make your minivan a really good minivan. Go with the Coopers! Cooper!